Besides it being open source and customizable and very stable and security, there are a lot of career opportunities that you can think about if at all you proficient in Linux server administration. Some of the career opportunities you can think of is administrators, because honestly, there is no organization where you go at and you won't find a Linux server. Everywhere you go, you'll find a Linux server. In the administration of all the systems in what we call DevOps, all these systems of Dockers and containers, they all run using the Linux basis. So you having knowledge about the Linux and how to handle it and being able to administer it, you stand a high chance of landing a job that you really want in the IT field. The last bit of it is cybersecurity. Most of the threats that we do have now, they come in a sense that if you have to deal with them, you have to have knowledge of Linux. So you might be wondering, who are the people out there that use Linux? You can think of, I know most of you must have heard of NASA. That is an American organization that actually deals in things to do with the moon and exploring the space. So those people also use Linux. You can think of Google, Microsoft running all their data centers, their core systems, they are all running Linux. So when we move ahead to see the distribution of Linux across the globe, you will see the concentration. Of course, our country, Uganda, as you can see, is not so much on board. But if you look at the entire world, it's very, very, very common. In every place where you go to, you expect to find a Linux server. So we are going to start to dig in the real work, what you need to know if you to administer a Linux server. To start with, we are going to start with the command line basics. What I didn't introduce earlier is Linux, mostly, yes, it has a graphical user interface, but most of the things that you're going to be doing with it, you're actually going to do with the command line. So it's very, very important for you to have an overview and an understanding of the basic things you need to navigate this system of the Linux system, which is typically using command line. So to start with, how would you connect to Linux systems? If you're in a local environment, like I'm going to show you here, in this environment of mine, I have some Linux systems that I installed. So I'm going to open up a new tab here and then show you what you would do if you, in my environment that has some of the Linux systems installed in a local environment. So in a local environment, my environment has a lot of virtual machines, but I'll stick to the ones that we need. And those are the ones that are running Linux. I have one VM that runs most of our applications. And this is how it looks like. So you'd expect to find something like that. If you find something like that, you just do Control Alt and then Control Alt and T. this will open up a new tab, but since this is in the web, that is why it does that. So you put the password most of the times. You have to know the username and the password for each system you want to access. So for me, I have to access this one. So this one is running on the Red Hat Enterprise, and it's an app server. It's running most of our applications. So if you look at it, this is how you'd find the typical Linux system, how it looks like. But for my case, these are few instances you'll find. If you need to access your system, remotely, that is, if I told you you don't want to use the graphical user interface, you would open up the CMD, and then this is on a Windows machine. I'm typically using my Windows machine to manage all the Linux servers. So I will do SSH, and then the username, that is root, at the IP address of the machine that I want to access, that is 33.27. We are saying this is supposed to be SSH. So yes. Okay. So after I add that, I put the password PPDA. So if you can see right now, I've entered into this system using SSH. That is one of the many ways of which you can access the Linux servers. You can notice in most of your Windows machines, you can install PuTTY. PuTTY is a remote configuration terminal, of which we can install and use rather than command line. Let me confirm. Yeah, PuTTY is also here. So using PuTTY, I can also access the same system by putting its IP address. And then I'm supposed to select the protocol as SSH, and then I open. So with PuTTY, it tells you which username are you going to log in with. I want to log on as root. The password, you put it in, and there you are. You are inside the app server, that Linux system. So besides that, using PuTTY and SSH, you can also use WSL. WSL is a Windows sub-layer system. It gives you an option of running Linux inside the Windows system for you to be able to practice. But it wouldn't work in a production environment, because here the servers are supposed to be standalone, and probably they be handling a lot of things. So if we move on to the next part of the essential commands that you need for you to be able to navigate the Linux system. One of those among the many we are going to use, I'll just stick to the command line and use this one that I have here. So this is how my system looks like. Basically, inside here, this is what you can talk of as you being inside the Linux server. So what you're seeing right here is a system, the way you're accessing your Windows system. But basically here, all you do and everything you're supposed to do it using the command line. So some of the basic commands that you would expect to find and will be very useful for you, like pwd, this will give you an overview of which directory you are, like you would say in Windows, it will tell you a path to where you are exactly. If you want to list the files that are inside this folder, you do ls. So this ls will give you the number of files that we have into this this Linux server exactly inside this system. So if you want to navigate further, we can do cd and then go back. This one is more like going back to the previous directory. If you go back to the previous directory, we shall check which files are inside there. You can see we have different folders inside there, ranging from bin, boot. Of course, there are very many files inside there. But what I wanted to focus on is this folder of home that I'm changing to. I hope you're taking note of the commands that we're using to navigate, because they won't be anything like using your mouse or what. But I've navigated back to the folder of home. The CD is more like telling the system to change the directory to home. So if I change to home, I see I have two users. One is Jacob, while the other is PPDA is Speaker Campbell, of which though you shouldn't mind about that. But another thing, some of the other commands that you can think about that will be very useful is dir will tell you the number of directories that are inside that execute folders. The touch command is for creating a file. We can say we want to create a file MIU. When we check what is inside here right now, we shall see we have created a file called MIU. We can actually also choose to see what's inside MIU, but we are very sure it's very empty. So MIU is very empty, so we can choose to edit this file of MIU. The VI is one of the most common text editors you'll find on any Linux machine, be it on file, be it on any Linux distribution. What I didn't tell you earlier is Linux has different Linux distribution. They range from the very common ones of Ubuntu, Red Hat. Most of the files run customized Linux machines from Cisco. So on every Linux distribution you find, be sure to find there the VI text editor. So this VI, we are going to use it to edit the MIU file. So this is how we're going to edit. I might choose to type something in here like echo. To start to edit, you use that. And then we are going to echo something. Welcome to the training. So this is what we put inside. So to save, you do full colon and then WQ and then exclamation mark. So we've actually saved what we have written inside the MIU folder, MIU file rather. So if you want to see what's inside the MIU file, you do cut MIU. You can see that we do have our data inside the file that we have just created. So here we've covered the cut command using the text editor VI, using the touch command of creating files. Also, besides the touch, even the command of MK creates a file for you. So if you don't want to use the touch command, you can always rely on the MK command. to create your file. So I want us to go back to where we were. We go back to root. So this is where we were. If we go back on the next part, I don't know how far we've gone with. I think we've covered the PWD, which shows you the current directory and the path to where you are. The ls will list all your files. cd, change the directory. touch to create, make dir, that will create a directory. So what I didn't talk about maybe is rm. Rm will delete. So if you go back to home and we see we have our MIU, we want to remove it, we shall do rm MIU. So it tells you remove regular file MIU. Are you sure? You'll confirm with a yes. So to confirm that our file has gone, we shall do ls again. And to confirm to you, the MIU is gone. So I want us to go back to our directory to see what's in there, and we're going to handle the second bit. So we have done most of these, creating, deleting, and then creating folders. So we are going to go and handle user processes and management, because I mean, in a Linux machine, like any server that is running a critical resource that is required to be up and running all the time, it's always very important to monitor the resources that are being used and probably be proactive just in case there is too much consumption of RAM, too much consumption of memory. Memory is RAM, the CPU, and the disk, so that you can be able to actively know which processors are using your system, so that you can be able to manage your systems efficiently. So if we go back, this time round, I want to exit out of this system. If you want to close the connection, I'll just do exit, and I'll log into another system that we are going to be using for this task, of which I will also be showing you how these systems also work. So this system we are logging into is basically a SIEM system. If anyone has heard of SIEMs, these are security incident management systems. They collect events from around all the organization, so that you can have an overview of all your security incidents in one place. So what this one does is clearly that, but this is the one that we are going to be using for this particular segment of managing user processes, because it's the best for that, because it has a lot of processes running, so you're going to be seeing them live as they run. So we're going to first cover user groups. For example, how would you create one of those groups, and also create users. So if you want to create something with the user with admin privileges, be always ready to use the sudo command, because as you know, in a Windows machine, if you want to run any software or anything with elevated admin privileges, you have to allow for admin privileges for that software to be able to run. So for this particular role of creating a new user, you have to enable admin. So the sudo command does that. So to add the user, you use the add user command. And then we might want to create a user called MIU. So we can also go ahead to change the user mode of this created MIU to admin created MIU. This will grant user mode, user group sudo. Okay. Okay. So what I also didn't talk about is if you're having any issues with any command that you don't have access to, you can always rely on the command of help, like you've seen here. Okay. So if you do a command like that one, okay, it can change the admin groups. For example, this MIU list of supplementary groups. The R option can also change the route to this. So for us to get an overview of which commands that should be coming next, these are the options that are being given us. So we can always change any user that we have. We can actually even change the user mode to okay. We can stop here and then we see which comments are supposed to be put next. So with this, you see these are the options that are supposed to be done next after this command of user mode. So if I do H, you see it will be telling me that the options that are available are these. I can choose one of these to maybe make it U, that is unlock. So as you see, the user we've created has been unlocked. So we basically create these users using the command that I've just shown you of user. So we can move to the next part of checking the processes that are running. You can rely on there's a command called top to show you which process are actually running, how much CPU they are consuming, which user are they running at. On every Linux machine, you'd expect to find a root user account, and that is an account with elevated privileges. It's an account that runs the sudo. So you'd expect to find it everywhere. But if at all you want to get other users without any inconveniences, you can always do that. But this panel here you see is more of telling you, like for example, you see this use of Wazoo U Plus is using a CPU of 0.3. These are actually in MBs. A CPU of 0.3, the memory is always counted in MBs. So the low amounts of, you see the digits are very small, but you shouldn't be worried about that. The only time when you should be worried as a system administrator, if you see the CPU usage is, the percentage is going to 90 or 80%. So with this, we might want to stop a certain process that is being problematic. As you can see, if you want to stop a process using this command line, you just do kill, and then you point out the process ID. As you can see here, the processes that are running, they have IDs here. So I can choose this to be the one that I kill, and I post it there. So as you can see, some processes cannot be terminated because they are critical to the running of the machine, but I'm going to try with admin privileges and see if it will allow. So you see, most of these tasks, you can't do them if you don't have admin privileges. So most of the times you have to be putting sudo for you to be able to accomplish whatever you want to accomplish. So if we move on to the next one, we've handled user groups of granting admin privileges. We have also handled processes. The top command monitors processes running. The kill also monitors. The kill also terminates the processes that are actually being problematic and you want to end them. So maybe what I didn't handle is this systemctl command. So what the systemctl command does is tell you which command, which processes are running. Like for example, we can run systemctl. So as you can see, these are the processes that are loaded and active and running in my Linux server. You can see this audit.services is failing. You can see there are very many others that are running, but there are also one that has failed. What I'm going to do for the purpose of this presentation, I'm going to stop one service and maybe restart it. Most of the time when administering Linux servers, a quick fix of restarting a system usually solves a lot of things. So we are going to stop. We are going to do sudo systemctl stop wazoo manager.service. So if you do the tab, it always completes the command for you. As we noticed earlier, this wazoo manager service was running, but if we check right now, we must find that service as one of the services that are not running. Unfortunately, let me see. Okay, so let's see one of these. It's not one of them, but we are going to rely on one of these that are not running to restart it. That failed. Like for example, the way we've seen the audit.service that is failed to start. We are going to do sudo systemctl restart audit. This system is also very sensitive. If you type a capital letter, it will get it as a capital letter. So be always careful of which audit.t.service So it's telling us the unit may be requested by dependence. So you'd always expect the things to happen, but as I've told you, this system always gives you direction of which direction you're supposed to take. So as it has told us, system, we are going to do system CTL status. Then we are looking at audit dot service. So actually, this is what happening. This is what is happening to this exact service that has failed to run. So as you can see, it exited with the result code of 8, which always indicates a failure, and it last ran 2 weeks ago and 3 weeks ago. But of course, this is not a very important service as per our SIM system. So this doesn't stop it from running. So the critical systems for this exact SIM system, you'll find. I'm going to show you. So you can see one of them is the Wazoo dashboard. We can do stream CTL. We're actually going to test out this and see. We are going to confirm that they are not running. So as you've seen, we are going to check out because this exact system is running on the web. So I'm going to I want to okay. This is not what I want. So I want to open a new tab here. So actually, let me switch to page and show you where this system is. It's at, as you remember, this is the IP address we used earlier. So we should be able to access our system. Let's put HTTP. Then the IP address. So we have accessed it from here before. So let's try. Oh, it seems I'm on a different network. So what I'm going to do is always when something happens, you can always rely on restarting the machine. Sudo systems sudo reboot now. so that we can be able to get it back. So I'll be running a ping on it just in case it comes back. Shall be able to go back to know if at all it has become alive. So I'm going to run a continuous ping on that specific machine. As you can see, it's unreachable right now because it's restarting. But after it's done restarting, we shall be able to get to it. Okay. As you can see, it's still loading. But from here, we can create a new tab. I want to get back to my screen. As you can see, this machine has started replying again. So so this presentation of ours is here. I'm actually going to switch it to this. So when we maximize here, I hope you guys can be able to see clearly. We had handled the system CTL and restarting services. So we are going to get back here, but let's first see what is on the next slide. That is understanding where the user files are stored. That is in the home directory. And we've been able to navigate through that from the two Linux machines we've shared. You can see the configuration files are always in the etc. So for this particular one, let's first go back to this machine of ours, and then we are going to navigate to this folder that we are talking about here, the one of etc. So etc is always in the root directory. So you'll have to go back up to the root. So as you can see, we can change to etc. Most of the times it will require admin. So it has allowed us. If you see in the etc folder, these are the configuration files that are running the machine. You can always edit whichever configuration you feel like, but always you have to be careful, because if you do it wrongly, you cannot be sure that you're going to get back to where you were. So the home folder, as we showed it to you earlier. Also the VAR. If we run back and the previous directory, we shall see that VAR is there. So we're going to change to VAR, and we are going to see the things that are inside there. As we've said in the presentation, be able to, in case you're looking for log files, you can always count on the log folder, which is right here. So we can choose to see what's inside the log folder, ls inside log. Saying let's first change to log. So all that is inside here, these are log files. You should you would be asking yourself, what are the logs? So logs are like messages generated when the system is running. If you're doing your troubleshooting, you can always rely on logs to know what happened to your system on what exact time. So you can always rely on logs to do that for you. So if we move further, another bit that is very important as a system administrator for Linux is automation. Because you won't be doing things by yourself, so you would create scripts to be running things for you. Like for example, you might want to set up a backup to be running at any time of your choice. Of course, you'd want to share to run a backup when the system is not so busy that you can think about maybe in the night, because I mean, when you're doing a backup, is consuming resources, so you'd expect that to be done when the system is not so busy. So I'll give a brief example of how you handle the automation. We are going to run back to our default folder, because that is where we want to be doing our things from. So here we are. So here we are going to be handling how to create bash scripts. So as I talked about earlier, of VI being the text editor for Linux that you find everywhere, even here you can find it. So I want us to create an automation script that we are going to name as MIDU. So inside the script, we are going to do hash. Usually, this is how the bash script starts. Bin bash. So on the next line, what this script is going to be doing is updating the system. So we shall do sudo apt update and sudo. These are logical ands. Sudo apt upgrade, and then we shall put the y tag. So what this does is updating the system, all the packages that are there that seem to be outdated. So I might want to run this system every night. So I'm going to close out of this file and save it. Okay, it's telling us can't open the file. Okay, so we're going to do this and close out of the file. The writing. So we are just going to, as you can see, these are some of the things that you can go with. But we can choose. Okay, we are going to first. We are going to first quit. So as you've seen, we've run into errors, so we haven't been able to create it. But we are going to first do the touch MIU. Okay, so that means the reason as to why it wasn't allowing is because we didn't create it with admin privileges. So we are going to do sudo MIU, and we go ahead to create what we have created earlier with insert, and then in bash, and then on the second line, sudo update, and the logical and of sudo upgrade with the Y tab. So if you see, we should be able to close out of this successfully. So here it is. As we can see, we have created our folder of MIU. If we can see what's inside it there, you can see we've created our command. So we are also going to handle user permissions in here. So if I want to make this MIU file executable, I'll do chmod plus X. This makes the MIU executable. As you can see, operation denied because I'm not an admin, so I'll wish to go. So if we check back, this MIU must have changed the color. So if you see MIU is now in color, so it's unexecutable. We can always run it using this command, MIU. So this dot forward slash MIU runs this exact file of MIU. So the reason as why it's giving us the sudo up to li not found is because this is a subsystem for a SIM. So you wouldn't expect it to have all these like these commands. So it has things that it doesn't have. So I'm going to switch to this other system that is a Red Hat system that is having 22, 27. Good. So here, I'm not going to write the full bash script, but I'm going to type in some of the contents of the script and see if at all it will give us any errors. So if I do sudo apt update, so even this one has the same issues because these are packages that are not existent in this current system, of which we need to just install them. But you can always rely on the change of the operations, automating the scripts. So if we can go back here and try to automate one of these, what I didn't talk about is if you're automating, you're going to be changing this file folder location to the cron jobs. So how automation works in Linux, it creates a folder of cron tabs. So these jobs are ran for the time where you set it. So if at all you said this update should be running at this time, maybe in the night, it will go back to that folder and check it out and run all the jobs that are there. So if we go for one of the basics of troubleshooting, as you've seen, we'll be running through a lot of errors, but how do you go about the troubleshooting? So some of the things that you're going to rely on in troubleshooting, of course, you're going to rely on CTL, because it will tell you what is running and what is not. So if you try that here, you can see the things that are mounted here. There are very many. Of course, the ones that are failing are always different from time to time. But that will tell you if this is running, either restart it, restarting the system, and also see which processes is taking too much space and what. So you might also want to consider things that run like ports that are open, because as you know, as Linux is an open source system. So ports by default all are closed. So you can always do SS to check out which ports are running. As you can see, the ones that you see that are having listening and their addresses are always listening and can always know if they are open. So this always, if you look at 127.0.1, that is always local. And surely that is always the TCP. TCP is always open for communication to happen. So these are the ports that are open. If something is not among these, just know it's not open. So if you've been having a process that is supposed to be using a specific port that you're not seeing among these, you just know here and there that is closed and you have to open it. Ports are opened manually in Linux. So I want also to look at some of the basics of MySQL. Since this doesn't have MySQL installed, so I'll switch to this one of PuTTY to show you. Probably MySQL must be here because it's so yes. So the MySQL here has a password of which I don't want to go into the details of it, but some of the examples that I can give you, MySQL is an open source used by most of the platforms that you know, Facebook, YouTube, WordPress, all use MySQL. You can actually rely on XAMPP to have XAMPP and Apache to simulate the things that are here. And you can always check out the things that do happening there. So what we are going to do, since we don't want to go into the details of the passwords and what, we can always run this one of trying to check if actually MySQL is running, of which I'm sure it is. System CTL status of MySQL. So what we are doing here is more like troubleshooting. We are going to do system CTL, and I want us to find the MySQL. The MySQL. So one of the processes that are running, it should be in here. So since it's denying us status, so this is how it looks like. So as you can see, you can always rely on the tab command to complete commands for you. So as you can see by this diagnostic, we have MySQL running and our database is version 8.0 and it's active and running. So that is how you be troubleshooting to see which process is disturbing you and how to go about them. So maybe the last part is the learning pathways. What you need to do to get to that point where you're an expert in system administration, more so in Linux. Practice is very key. I know most of you could be having Windows machines. You can rely on VirtualBox, install a Linux machine, and be practicing out these commands that we've been doing as we've been doing there. If you're also running a Windows machine, the Windows sublayer system, you can run Linux inside Windows without installing a virtual machine. If at all you have Windows 10 and above, you can always do that. You can always also check out for certifications for Linux. They are very, very key. And if you need any of them and you get them, just know it's going to be easy for you to learn your dream profession of being a systems administrator, more so in Linux. So you can also rely on forums like Stack Overflow. If you have coded before, you know this is a very common platform you'll find out there. Probably for the things that we set out to cover, that's most of it. Maybe if you really have some questions, we can handle them, move out, handle different things. I see that to move on to the next thing. Yes, was something giving out? Oh, I wasn't monitoring the comment section. Sorry. But I guess if you have a question, you can put it here, and we can be able to handle it and answer it, and maybe show you practically how you can do it. Any questions?
Colleagues, any questions? There is one who asked for the difference between the sudo and the sudo.
The difference between?
The sudo with sudo and sudo pseudo.
The sudo, I presume the sudo with P that he means is the sudo for developers. You might have heard of a pseudocode. This is more like a baseline of how the system operates and how it's built. So the pseudocode is more like the core of the system. It gives an overview of developers of what to expect in a system, of what to build on. That is the pseudocode, the one with a P. The sudo with an sudo for Linux is for elevating privileges from a normal user to admin for you to be able to execute the commands that you want.
Colleagues, you can unmute and ask your questions. We have one in the chat. Can I put Windows and Linux at once on the PC?
How do you, okay, how do you download software on Linux? How do you download software in Linux? If you want to download software in Linux, you always rely on the curl command. So what the curl command does is, as we've talked before, Linux is typically command line. So if you use the curl command, you have to put the exact address of the download link where you need to download the software from. So that is how you download on Linux. You do curl plus the HTTP plus the link. With that, you can be able to download software on Linux. So someone is saying, can I put Windows on Linux? Can I put Windows and Linux at once on the PC? Yes, that is very possible. You can actually do a partitioning of your disk. You create two partitions, one partition. If you're having a PC that is newer that supports virtualization, it should be able to allow you to run two operating systems at a time. That is dual booting. So if you create one partition and you dual boot it to Linux, whichever distribution you feel like, and then the other partition, you'll be booting it in Windows. So it's very possible to run Linux once you have Windows. As someone has answered here, you can also do the VirtualBox. There is also WSL for you to be able to download. Unless there is some other question.
Someone asked, how can I get Linux?
How can you get Linux? If someone is interested in cybersecurity, I'm going to show you. For cybersecurity, if you a fan, you can always look out for Kali. Kali is if at all you want to learn penetration testing, ethical hacking, this is the distribution that you should be installing. So if you go to this official site of theirs, you can always download an image is around 4 GBs, and then you can run it under your virtualization, virtual machine. You can always do so using the WSL on your Windows. Unless there's something else. Any other questions?
I think maybe they are done. Vare, thank you so much for that insightful discussion. Maybe in case they need you, they will contact you.
Yeah, just in case they need any other clarification, they can always reach out to you and then shall stay in touch.
Okay. Thank you so much. And colleagues, we are on the next person. Our next guest speaker is the Mr. Stewart, who is going to take us through networking. Mr. Stewart is an experienced network engineer with many years of experience, and he's going to introduce himself to us and take us through. Mr. Stewart, we are happy that you have joined us, and we can't wait to hear what you're going to share with us about networks. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wilbert. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, it's nice to be here virtually. I'm glad to meet you online. My name is Stuart McCarthy. I am a cybersecurity analyst. I train students and professionals how to hack into networks and defend networks from threats. I am based at the College of Computing. I also have international certifications in networking, that is CCNA, Cisco, IT2, Microsoft, and I'm just getting started. Security is something that I'm really so passionate about. I mean, networking and security work hand in hand. So Mr. Wilbrod asked me to share with you guys briefly about networking, and I'm a hands-on person. I do not feel theory, me, I'm hands-on. So since we are virtual, like online, I am going to do my presentation in form of like a demo using a simulator. You see networking? Screen. A minute. All right, sorry about that. So there's what there are simulators. In networking, we use what called simulators. One of them is Packet Tracer. There's one called GNS3. GNS3 is for handling heavy traffic. But for this particular presentation, I'm going to use a simulator called Packet Tracer. Packet Tracer is the equivalent, you know, in network, when you're training guys how to like set up networks and stuff, you have to use a simulator, because if you introduce students to production networks like physical devices, they tend to mess them up. So this is the equivalent of like when doctors are practicing medicine, they start by cutting frogs, rats, cockroaches, and you know those things before they really handle human beings. So even this is the equivalent of rats, frogs, you know, network engineer, anyone who's passionate about network engineering. So whatever, I don't know whether you can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it clearly.
Clearly, yes. So this tool is called Packet Tracer. This tool is called Packet Tracer, and it is really free. If you want it, I can always get it to you. It's Packet Tracer. Any device you find in a network, on a network, production network, is in this Packet Tracer. The routers, the switches, the servers, DHCP, any server, any kind of server, the smartphones, all those devices are in this tool called what? Packet Tracer. All right. So we have we have this, sorry. So this Packet Tracer, we have routers here. There are so many routers. Thank you. We have so many routers here. We have end devices. There's a PC, there's a laptop, there is a server. I mean, any device you can find on a network is always in this simulator called Packet Tracer. Even printers. You even have IP phones. You have a TV. Though you cannot watch your favorite TV station on this, like in the Packet Tracer. There are tablets. Connections are here. The different types of cables you can have on a network are here. Fiber optic cables. Then there are masts, like masts. Yeah, there is really so much. You can even do IoT in this tool called what? Packet Tracer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by introducing what we call DHCP. I'm going to share with you about DHCP. DHCP, like this DHCP. As I said, I'm a hands-on person. I do not do a lot of theory. I'm hands-on. So DHCP in full is Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. Now, this protocol enables machines to give out unique numbers called addresses to other machines on network. If you have a machine on your network running DHCP, that machine will be called the DHCP what? DHCP server. DHCP server. DHCP server. Okay, DHCP. DHCP what? DHCP server. My handwriting is crazy. Okay, DHCP server right here. Sorry about that. For your information, this is not my handwriting. So if you have a machine running, that protocol is called the DHCP what? Server. Now, this server can be a Linux machine. I've seen someone taking you through Linux. Linux, by the way, is so good in terms of networking because in terms of security, there are about like 30 known viruses for Linux and about 60,000 known viruses for Windows. So if someone asks you the best operating system in terms of security, it has to be Linux. And most times I find students and actually professionals, they be with laptops that run Windows operating system, Windows 10, Windows 11, and so on. And I'd be like, why don't you drop Windows and embrace Linux? I don't know what you guys have on your machine. What do you have on your machines? Which operating system do you have on your machines?
Windows.
Why Windows?
Linux.
You have Linux, very good. Henry Egesu said he has Linux. Yes, Linux is the way to go. When you attend some of these trainings, you'll find that at some point you have to drop Windows and embrace what? Linux. As I've said, there are about 30 known viruses for Windows, rather for Linux, and about 60,000 known viruses for Windows. So the best operating system in terms of security is definitely what? Linux. But you find guys have Windows and be like, why do you have Windows? And some people can't answer. They'll be like, it is easy to use. Get out of your comfort zone, drop Windows and embrace what? Linux. And you can start with Ubuntu. Ubuntu is really good. Ubuntu, there are different distributions. There is Ubuntu. If you want to get into like using Linux, if you want hacking and cybersecurity stuff, you want to break Wi-Fi passwords, and you want to stop crying for Wi-Fi passwords. Sometimes you go to places and you start begging people for Wi-Fi passwords. Those things should stop. Just install a distribution for hacking. It's called Kali Linux. Break into people's wireless networks for good reasons, access, and then shut down your machine and leave. All right. So when it comes to servers, Linux servers are really, really free. Like you just download an image. Rather, for Ubuntu, you can download the Ubuntu server, make some configurations, and you'll have a server. But if it is Windows, you'll have to buy a license, which license is actually very expensive, and it's like paid yearly. Every year you have to pay some dollars. That's a lot of money. So once you know Linux, you can set up end user machines with Linux, and also intermediate devices like your servers running what? Linux. So DHCP server can be a Linux box. A Linux box. Linux box means a Linux machine. Linux machine. Now with Linux, the machine doesn't have to be so powerful. The specifications can be limited. For example, 40 GB hard disk space, 2 GB of RAM is good enough to run a Linux server. But if it is Windows, you'll have to have like 10 GB of RAM minimum, a lot of hard disk space. The CPU has to be dual core, but for Linux, even a Pentium 4 can actually do a good job. So it can be a Linux box. It can be a Cisco server, rather Cisco router. A DHCP server can also be a Cisco router. A Cisco router. A DHCP server can be a Windows machine configured with a DHCP role. Windows server, it can be a Windows PC, rather Windows server. It can be a Windows server and so much more and others. It can even be an access point, a wireless router, an access point. Yeah, an access point, AP, access point, wireless router, access point. Access points assign addresses to wireless clients like your smartphones and tablets. Now, why DHCP? DHCP is so good, as I've said, it assigns IP addresses automatically to end user devices. But in addition to IP addresses, it also assigns other IP parameters. For example, DNS server, the domain name, the subnet mask, the default gateway, and so on. Those are the parameters. They're referred to as IP parameters. And then why DHCP? Why DHCP? Why do you need a DHCP server on your network? You must have a DHCP server on your network because number one, DHCP server, number one, it simplifies network administration. It simplifies network what? Administration. It simplifies network administration. Okay. It simplifies, okay. I hope you have gotten that point. Simplifying network administration means the network administrator just configures a DHCP server, and that server will give out addresses to all machines on the network. You do it on one machine, and the machine just does the needful. It assigns IP addresses. Actually, they're referred to as IP parameters to end user devices automatically. Then number two, with the DHCP server, there's nothing like DHCP IP address conflict. There's nothing like IP address conflict. An IP address conflict case comes about when two machines share the same IP address. It is very common if you do IP address assignment manually. All right? IP address assignment manually, because as a human being, you can make a mistake. If you have 10 computers, you can configure an IP address on a particular computer, then make a mistake and assign the same IP address to that 10th computer. So the machines will complain by displaying an error message, IP address conflict. Computers don't complain, rather computers don't talk. Computers do not fight. Computers don't scream. Computers don't cry. But if you make a mistake on a computer, it just throws an error message. So if two machines have the same IP address, it throws an error message called an IP address what? Conflict. Once you have this process automated, yeah, if it's automated, you won't have this problem. You won't have this problem of IP address what? Conflict. Any question before I go any further? Are you guys following?
No question yet.
Is everything clear so far?
Yeah, everything is clear.
Okay. Now, after giving you that brief introduction about DHCP, I would love to show you in Packet Tracer how this stuff is done on physical devices. I said the DHCP server can be a Cisco router. Cisco is one of the vendors for network and telecom equipment in the world. It is based in the US. Those guys manufacture routers, they manufacture switches, access points, and telecom equipment. It has a competitor. The competitor is called Huawei. Huawei is based in China. Let me ask you guys, US and China, what would you go for? Which equipment would you go for? If you are the network admin and the organization wants you to purchase equipment, would you go to China? Would you go for China products or US? American.
US.
Originally, America has been the best, but as you know nowadays, new evolving technologies, China also is doing wonders.
But China is doing wonders by recycling. America comes up with an idea and the Chinese copy.
I go for US in terms of security and everything.
So you would go for what? US or China?
I go for US.
You go for US, eh?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not trying to diss China. I'm just trying to make a point here. Know that there are different alternatives. Rather, there are different options. You can go for Chinese products. You can go for American products. And when it comes to configurations, the commands might differ, but the concept or the protocol is always what? The same. So here I'm going to show you a router. There are different routers here. I am going to use this one, 2811 series. That's the router. Before I even introduce a router, let me first introduce computers. You have a network. On a network, you must have computers. I'm going to set up a simple LAN. A LAN in full is local area network. A LAN is where you have devices interconnected using a switch. So once you have these devices, you must have an intermediary device to interconnect these computers. That's when you get what? A switch. The switch I'm talking about is not the one on the walls at your home. The switch here in networking is used to interconnect end-user devices. The end-user devices can be PCs, laptops, desktops, network printers, network scanners, even IP cameras, plus IP phones. And then when you want to interconnect your devices, you must have cables. If it's a cable network, you must have cables. So in Packet Tracer, the cables are under connections. So you get a cable here. The cable we use to connect devices that are not the same is called the straight-through cable. So I want to connect a computer to a switch so that I set up a LAN. So this is a straight-through cable. The network port is this one, fast Ethernet. Then I connect this to any port on a switch. Switches have ports. The number of ports a switch has are the number of devices you can connect to the switch, right there. Then I also have this machine here. When you say you want to set up a LAN, setting up a LAN means you buy computers, you buy a switch, terminate cables, and then that is it. You set up a LAN and bill, or you charge people whatever amount of money they can offer or they can afford to give you. So I've set up a LAN. If I set up a LAN like this, communication can happen between PC0, PC1, PC2, and PC3. Yeah, because they are on the same network, same LAN. Same LAN means same switch. Okay, these computers are in the same vicinity, same LAN, local area network. However, if they are what to call IP addresses, I don't know if someone has ever heard about an IP address. What's an IP address? Who has ever heard about an IP address?
IP address is a unique address used for identifying a computer in a network.
Very good. Who is that? That's a very perfect answer. Who is that?
Nicodemus.
Nicodemus. Thank you for that answer. It is really cool. So IP address is a unique number that identifies a device on the network. If you have Dell computers, 20 Dell computers, 20, they are black in color, they are 20, and they're same brand, Dell. How do you differentiate the first Dell from the 10th Dell? What you do is you can assign each machine an IP address. Look at an IP address as your NIN number. I don't know that you guys have national IDs. Do you have national IDs?
Yes.
Can you find two people with the same NIN number?
Yes.
Are you sure?
No.
Two guys with the same NIN number in Uganda. Ile NIN number.
His own.
Like each person has a unique NIN number, isn't it?
Yes.
So look at an IP address as a computer's NIN number, yeah? The IP address is assigned to the machine by the network administrator, the person in charge of the network. Or if you have a DHCP server, it would be assigned to the machine by a DHCP server automatically. So we are going to, IP addresses come from a network address. I'm going to have this as the network address, 192.168.1.0, 192.168.1.0/24. So that's a network address, network ID, network identifier. The first IP address is 192.168.1.1. The second IP address is 192.168.1.2. IP addresses come from a network address, 192.168.1.3, 192.168.1.4, 192.168.1.1.5, and so on. They go on, you go on up to 192.168.1.254. That is for class C. Maybe Mr. Wilbrod will organize another session and I take you through IP addressing. Someone might ask, why do you start with 192? Why is it a dot separating the numbers, not a comma, not a semicolon? That is the standard, like standard. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to assign addresses to my machines manually. All right? I'm going to assign addresses to my machines what? Manually. So I click on this machine, this one. Do you see my machine? Okay. Do you see my machine? Like this is, you see that one?
We are not able, I'm not able to view it.
Okay, it is here. Let me.
Please, Emma should mute the microphone.
Erugenda?
Okay, do you see now, this like PC0?
Yes, yes.
You see that one? Eh? But whatever I'm going to do is what we do on physical devices. Just that this is a software simulator. If you know how to work with a simulator, then you can really do a good job with physical devices. So you go to desktop, and then you go to IP configuration. I am going to configure the IP addresses statically. So I come here under IP address, and I type 192.168.1. I'm going to start with 2. In networking, it is a standard or good practice that you reserve the first IP address for the gateway, so that you don't make a mistake.
Kawalia, your microphone, you mute.
Come again?
We can continue. Kawalia's microphone was on. I was trying to tell him to mute.
Okay. So I'm saying on a network, IP addresses are gotten from a network address. And I'm saying it is good practice to reserve the first IP address on the network for the gateway, the router. A gateway is a device that connects your network to other networks. Okay, so I'm reserving the first IP address, but it is not a must. You can use any other address. So when you click in the subnet mask field, the addresses will be entered what? I mean, the subnet mask will be entered automatically. I don't have a default gateway yet, so I skip this. To save, you click on X and then you close. Now, I got the second machine. You do this for all your machines. I have PC1 here. Desktop, there are 5 tabs here. Physical, config, desktop. I go to desktop tab, go to IP configuration, IP address. 192.168.1. Is it okay now?
Yes,
I am sharing the stuff for the second machine.
yes, we
One
can
nine-
continue.
Okay. Okay. 192.168.1.3. The subnet mask could be entered automatically. If you want to save, you just what? Close. Okay, that is what you do for all your machines. That is assigning IP addresses, NIN numbers. I refer to them NIN numbers, but networking they are called IP addresses. In everyday life, look at IP addresses as NIN numbers. Assigning NIN numbers to machines, what? Manually. Now, can someone answer? If you have 500 computers and you are supposed to do this, like do what I've been doing manually, will it be an easy task? Will it be an easy task?
It won't be.
It won't be. Since they're numbers, you can even make mistakes, isn't it? At some point, and mistakes are human, right?
Yeah.
So assigning IP addresses statically works best if you have like 3, 4 computers or 5. But if the machines are many, you have to automate the process. And when it comes to address assignment, automation works if you have a DHCP server. And I've just said a DHCP server can be a Cisco router. Now I am going to get a Cisco router. My router is here. Have you seen I've introduced the router, right? Do you see my router?
Yes.
Yeah, we see it. You can see.
Okay. Now I am going to connect a switch to the router using a cable that is used to interconnect unlike devices. That cable is called a straight-through cable. So you connect that cable to any port on the switch, and then you connect to the Ethernet interface, this one. Now, routers, they are networking devices called routers and switches. Let me explain. Switches are networking devices used to interconnect end user devices, computers, printers, servers, and so on. And then routers are used to interconnect networks. Those two are intermediate devices. You find them on networks. Okay, let me repeat. Switches are networking devices used to interconnect end user devices like PCs, laptops, desktops, network printers, IP cameras, IP phones. But once you have a router interconnects networks. In addition to interconnecting networks, it can also be used as a DHCP server. So a router does really so many roles on a network. So I don't know whether you can see the connection between PC to switch is green. I see in green, and then switch to router is red. To explain that, by default, switch ports are always open. So when you connect a PC to a switch, it will just, connection will be established. But router interfaces are always what? Closed. So I have to open a router interface by issuing some commands. How do I do that? Now, you've heard about configurations. These devices come with nothing in memory. It is your role as a network engineer, network administrator, or system administrator to perform configurations so that they can be used on your network. So I'm going to show you some simple configurations. This is a router. See, this router has a brand new phone. It has nothing, no contacts, nothing, no software. If it is an iPhone, you have to go to Apple Store and download some apps that you find useful, and then you can also add contacts. Now, this one is a new router. It has nothing in memory. Now, what network administrators do is when organizations buy such devices, these are guys who make these devices usable on a network by performing configurations. So what are some of the configurations? I'm going to show you like this one. Don't know if they're seeing my screen. Do you see my screen?
No.
What about now?
Yes, we can now see.
So the way you start a machine, a desktop, when you start a desktop, It will load the desktop or your laptop. It will load for a few minutes before you're able to log in. In that process, it will be loading the operating system into memory, into RAM, so that you can actually be able to use your machine. Look at a router. Actually, a router is a computer because it has the main components of a computer. The main components of a computer is not the monitor, it is not the mouse. When you go to buy a laptop in town, don't look at the color of the laptop. I'm crazy about pink, so I want a pink laptop. I'm crazy about red, so I want a red laptop. You will be sold rubbish. You have to look at the main components. It is RAM, hard disk space, and the operating system. RAM, hard disk space, operating system, and then CPU, the processor. So the router also has these components. When you start a router for the very first time, it will ask you that question that you're seeing, and there are two options. You have to enter a no. I'll explain why you enter a no there. So when you're going to configure a router, you have to go through different modes. This window you're seeing is for that router 0 that I introduced in my work. Okay. So this mode here is called the user mode. You can't do much in that mode. And the default name for all Cisco routers in the world is router, Cisco routers, router. But if you work for Metropolitan International University, you have been hired as the assistant network engineer. You don't have to have all your routers with the name router. You can change the name of your router to reflect the organization. So to do that, you have to go to another mode by entering a command enable. These commands are English words. You'll go to the privileged mode. What is called the privileged mode?
My hand is on.
Come again?
Yeah, I was actually raising the hand. I want to ask something.
Please.
Yeah,
Feel free.
thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, my name is Faustin.
Mm.
I am actually trying to ask, like, when you look at the switch and the router, there are some ports that are written gigabit Ethernet, but many times we have been using fast Ethernet. When do I need to connect the gigabit Ethernet on a switch and a router? Like when I want to connect a switch to a router, when am I supposed to connect from a switch to a router, but on a gigabit Ethernet?
Okay. Now, let me answer. The devices, the switches and routers, old devices didn't rather have fast Ethernet interfaces. New devices have gigabit interfaces. Look at gigabit interfaces as high-speed interfaces. Then fast Ethernet interfaces are slow-speed interfaces. So old routers and switches have only fast Ethernet interfaces. New routers and switches some actually have gigabit only, others have both gigabit and fast Ethernet. Now, when you want to connect a building to a building, you don't run a crossover cable. You want to connect a switch in one building to a switch in another building, which are the buildings are adjacent. Maybe this is an organization that has 4 structures in the same area, 4 flats, and you want to connect building to building. You don't connect a straight through cable. Rather, you don't use fast Ethernet connection. That means you have to use fiber optic cable, which fiber optic cable is connected to high speed interfaces, that is fast Ethernet. In short, if you want fast data transfer, very fast transfer of data, like fast internet connection, fast speed, fast connections, always use gigabit interfaces. But I'm also saying new routers and new switches come with gigabit interfaces. They are high-speed interfaces. Old devices have only fast Ethernet interfaces. If a device has both gigabit and fast Ethernet, when do you use gigabit? If you want to connect a networking device to another networking device for high-speed connection, yeah, that's when you go for gigabit interface. I don't know whether I've answered your question. Have I?
Yeah, thank you. I've got it.
Very good. Now, these are modes. The first mode with the greater than symbol is user mode. The next one is privileged mode. The one I'm supposed to go to, in which we change configurations, is this one, global configuration mode. I'm just going to show you two commands. The command we use to baptize routers, baptize, renaming. I'm using the normal word, baptize. It is host name, this command, host name. As I told you, there are different vendors for networking equipment. I told you about Huawei. I've told you about Cisco. This one is a Cisco command, host name. When you're configuring a Huawei router, the command is different, but the concept is the same. All right. So the host name is going to be MUI. Check what happens when I press enter. What has happened? Has anything
Yeah,
changed?
the name automatically changes from router to MIU.
Very good. When you baptize your router, when you assign your router a unique name, the name changes from the default router to the new name you have specified, like MIU. That is my new router name. Then passwords are very important. You don't leave your machines open because a malicious person can log into your router and then maybe chooses to delete all configurations. And when the configurations are deleted, the first person to be disturbed is the person in charge of the network engineer, the system admin. Everyone will look for you around the building or whatever. So it is very important to configure passwords. One of the passwords we configure is for the privileged mode. So the password to configure password for privileged mode is enable password. The most famous password in the world that you must avoid is 1234. I've used it here, but I'm to emphasize that never use that password. I know some of you have this as the password. You have your phone number as your password. Please change that. Those are weak passwords. Your phone number as your password. Your girlfriend's name as your password. Change that. Or your boyfriend's name as your password. Those are weak passwords. And then don't use complicated passwords like Swaziniga 1234 910. That is really crazy. You will forget the password. Use passwords that you can easily what? Remember. I have used the enable password here just to help you understand that that is the most famous password in the world that hackers, rather ethical hackers, really look forward to breaking this password. Avoid using 12345. Okay. Now, those are just two commands. There are over 1,000 commands for information, but in the interest of time, I've just shared with you two commands. One, to baptize our router with the unique name. Two, to set up a password so that no one logs into our router unless they know the password. Now, how do you configure the Cisco router to work as a DHCP server? How do you do that? How to configure Cisco router to work as a DHCP server? The first thing you have to do is to configure that interface here. Do you see this interface here? This interface? Do you see this interface here? This one? Are you seeing my screen?
Yeah, we are seeing.
This interface here, the red means the interface is blocked. By the way, another difference, you might find this in an interview question. Someone might ask you for a difference between a router and a switch. A router has interfaces which are always closed by default. Then switches have ports. Ports are always open. Every time you connect a device, a computer, to a switch, connection will be established, connectivity will be established. But router interfaces have to be configured, rather enabled, opened. Right now, what I'm going to show you is how to configure a router interface. So before you configure a Cisco router as a DHCP server, you must activate or you must open the router interface. How do you open the router interface? We use commands. You don't get it. You don't get keys and start opening. No, it is commands. Now the commands to open router interface are here. First of all, specify the interface. Here, you specify the interface. This interface here is G0/0. Okay, so that interface is interface. We use the command interface G0/0. All right, you specify the interface. As I've said, routers have interfaces, switches have ports. If you are going to configure a Cisco interface, you specify it, give it an IP address. IP address. I remember mentioning that we always reserve the first IP address for the router, for the gateway. A gateway is a device that connects your network, other networks. If it's a production network, that router will have a cable running from the ISP, from the service provider. All right. So IP address 192.168.1.1 space, you specify the subnet mask, it is 255.255.0. And then you open by using the command no shutdown. The command we use to open the router interface is no shutdown. And as you can see, the interface is now up. Let me explain this again. You start by specifying the interface.
Excuse me. What about if I just use no shut?
No shut also works. No shut also works. So you specify the interface, give it an IP address, specify the subnet mask, and then the default gateway, that one being class C. Then no shutdown, or you can just do no shut, and the address will be, rather the interface will be up. Now, after configuring the router interface, next thing is you have to configure DHCP. As I've said, before you configure DHCP, make sure the router interface is up and running. So our interface is up. As you can see,
We are not getting you.
Come again.
We are not getting you.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we are seeing your screen.
Yes, you can.
Okay, I'm saying now we are going to configure DHCP. DHCP. To configure DHCP, here are the commands. As I've told you, in networking, especially CCNA, there are over 1,000 commands, over 1,000 commands. Today we are going to look at like 10 to 10 to 15. So you type the command IP DHCP pool space pool name. Pool name can be any word. Now, you two or more IP addresses are referred to as a pool of addresses. You configure a pool of addresses on your DHCP server. Now, it is from that pool that the DHCP server will start assigning IP addresses to the DHCP clients, the laptops and the desktops. Those addresses are given for a period of time, which is called the lease. A lease is 24 hours, but still there are more commands you can use to dictate the lease. The lease can be for only maybe 3 hours. If someone's lease expires, rather if the lease expires, the address will be returned to the pool and that machine will be disconnected from the network. There are commands you can use to do that, but I'll show you maybe that next time. So there's IP DHCP pool name. You specify the network address from which addresses will be picked. Network space 192.168.1.0 space 255.255.255.0. Okay, network space network address. And that is all. How do you configure DHCP on a Cisco router? You specify the pool, you specify the pool name, and you specify the network address. The network address and the subnet mask. It is from the network address that addresses will be assigned to machines, apart from the first address, which is the default gateway 1.1. So after doing that, you go to your machines and configure them as DHCP clients.
Excuse me.
Yes?
This pool, the pool name, I just give it any name or I have to relate it to the network. Like the DHCP pool, then the name.
This one, the name is any word. Any word.
Okay.
However, you can be working in an organization that has 4 groups of users, marketing, rather 4 departments, marketing department, sales department, managers department, and maybe accountants. So the pool name should reflect maybe the group. If you don't have groups or departments, it can be the name for your organization. So the pool name can be any word. So you specify the pool and then the network address and the subnet mask. After that, you go and configure your clients as, by the way, the machines are DHCP clients. You go and configure your clients as DHCP clients. All right. I'm going to configure my machines as DHCP what? Clients. So how do you do that? You click on the machine. I've clicked on PC0. PC0 is this one. PC0. PC0 is here. I go to IP configuration. Remember, I configured an IP address statically. You remember static, we did to start with static, eh? And we said someone, I think it was Henry, he said this one wastes time. And it's time consuming, you can even make mistakes. What we're doing right now is what we do on physical devices. So all you have to do is deselect static and select what? DHCP. So I'm selecting DHCP. Look at what is going to happen. DHCP, requesting IP address, and the address is there. 1.2. The subnet mask is there. Look at these IP parameters. What is the problem? If you have been following, look at those IP parameters. The IP address is there. The subnet mask is there. By the way, here you can see DHCP request successful, meaning the desktop has contacted the DHCP server and the DHCP server has sent the address to the machine automatically. So if you are the network engineer, all you have to do is just go to the machines and do DHCP without entering figures. The subnet mask is here, but look at the default gateway. What's the problem with our IP parameters? If you have been following, what's the problem? Are you guys there?
Yeah,
We are there.
maybe repeat what you're asking.
Okay, let me just explain. Default gateway is the address of a
Yeah.
device.
We are there, we are there.
A default gateway is the address of a device that connects your network to other networks. Now, I remember configuring an IP address on the router, but the router is telling me the default gateway, rather the DHCP server is telling the default gateway 0.0.0.0. Question, is that correct? This is not the address I configured on the router interface.
It can't.
The address I configured on the router interface was 192.168.1.1. That address is what we call the default gateway. In short, default gateway is the address of a device that connects your network to other networks. In this case, it is the router. If you have a wrong default gateway address configured on your laptop or machine, you can never access internet, because you access internet through a router, which router connects your LAN to the ISP side, and you get all the web pages you request from the ISP side, from the ISP servers and stuff. If you have a wrong default gateway, you can never reach the ISP. Do you even know what ISP is? What is ISP?
Internet Service Protocol.
Really?
Internet service provider.
ISP is the internet service provider.
What do those guys do? What do those companies do?
Actually, their work is entirely to enable either individuals or organizations to connect to the internet.
To connect to the internet. All right. So do you know some examples in Uganda?
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
Like what?
Like
there's
we
rock,
do have
rocket.
MTN.
MTN,
Yeah, we have Airtel, we have Telecom.
Yes. All those mobile
Yep,
data network
Savannah.
companies, mobile data networks, MTN, Airtel, like they also provide what? Mobile telecom networks also provide rather internet, the ISPs. So if you want internet, you don't go to downtown like Owino, Owino downtown. You don't go downtown. You don't go to Mukwana Arcade. You have to go to a service provider, ISP. These are companies that provide internet services. They sell internet because they have capacity to connect to other ISPs in other countries and continents. Take an example of MTN. MTN has a branch in Uganda. There's MTN Rwanda. There's MTN South Africa. MTN is also in the Middle East. Take an example of AfriCell, rather Airtel. Airtel is in Uganda. Airtel is in Tanzania. Airtel is all over Africa. So those companies have capacity to connect you to other networks through other ISPs. But then there are also those other ISPs that have capacity to connect continent to continent, Africa to Europe, Europe to Asia. Those are huge ISPs. And those are the ISPs that sell internet to our MTNs and Airtel, Laika, and then the Laika and the MTNs of this world or in Uganda, they sell to the end users, organizations, and individuals. An example of a Tier 1 ISP that has capacity to connect continent to continent is called Seacom. Seacom has headquarters for the East African region. Their headquarters are in Mombasa. Yeah, it's the connection point for the East African region. When you visit their network operations center, the engineers can tell you this connection is to Kampala, Uganda. This connection is to Kigali, Rwanda. This one is to different Nairobi, Kenya. Yeah, it's a very huge, rather serious network infrastructure. I got a chance to visit their NOC, and it is really, that's when you appreciate the power of networking. So many routers, so many racks, so many devices, so many wires, a lot of networking at its best. So there's a time when internet can be off in the whole of Uganda. Not only in Kampala, not only in your area, but off. If that ever happens, that means the Tier 1 ISP has gotten a problem. Sometimes it can be a C cable, fiber optic cable, which is damaged or something, and then the internet can go off. It has ever happened, but sometimes it can be guys whose service provider is Airtel can lose internet, but MTN customers can be accessing what? Internet. It's because MTN can be subscribing to different Tier 1, different from Airtel's. Okay, so those ISPs are in tiers. There is Tier 1, there is Tier 2, there is Tier 3. Tier 3 are the small ones. There are some ISPs that can provide internet to customers only in Kampala. If you go to Kabale or if you go to Arua, you can't access their services. Do you know some examples in Uganda? You cannot access the internet in Kampala. If you travel outside the Kampala, like Mbarara, Kabale, Arua, you cannot access their services. Like what? Like which one? Like Laika Mobile. Laika Mobile is in Kampala Central. If you go to Arua, there is nothing like Laika Mobile. But then there is MTN in Arua. There is MTN in Kabale. Now MTN is like a Tier 2. Yeah, it can even cross borders. So what I'm trying to explain here, back to our PowerPoint here, rather our presentation, the router is so mean. It is not giving out its default gateway address to the machines. So what I'm going to do is I'm supposed to enter a command. I'm supposed to force it to share its IP address to the machines. All right. How do you do that? You use a command. You use a command. And the command we use to force the router give out its default gateway address is default dash router space the IP address of the router 192.168.1.1. That's the address I configured on the router interface, this one. This one. It is what you configure here. And then you press enter. Now I go back to my machines. I go back to my machines here, PC0. PC0. If I go back to PC0, right now I want to refresh. I want to refresh. How do you refresh? You can refresh by doing, these ones are called network utility programs. ipconfig, there's a network utility program that displays the computer's IP address. If you want to ask the machine what its IP address is, you type the command ipconfig. Are you seeing my output? Do you see my output?
Yeah,
Yes.
we do.
This is the IP address, the subnet mask is there, but the default gateway is the problem. As I've said, when you have 00, you can never access internet because on your network, your devices, the laptops have to communicate with the router if they are to communicate beyond the local network. That means if you type google.com in your web browser, if you want to do a Zoom call, your machine has to contact a device that connects your network to other networks. A device that understands the language spoken on a local network and the language spoken on the wide area network, the WAN. That device works as a middleman, it is the router. But now, the gateway is wrong. It's supposed to be 192.168.1.1. But I entered some commands to do those, to force the router give out its default gateway address to the machines. So I need to refresh. You do ipconfig /release. You see that? ipconfig /release. And then release means take back all the IP parameters you have to the server. And then request for new IP parameters. ipconfig /renew. Request for new configurations. And as you can see, the default gateway is here. Let me even give you a tip. Sometimes you can be using Wi-Fi on your laptop and you lose internet. I saw a guy one time, he got his laptop and banged it down. He threw it in a pit because he had lost internet connectivity. Please never do that. All you have to do, sometimes the lease would have expired because once you have Wi-Fi, it means your laptop is picking addresses from a DHCP server. The lease can expire, and all you have to do is just do release, take back all the IP parameters you have. Here you're telling your machine, take back all the addresses you have to the server, and then renew, request for new IP configurations. Internet will be restored. When I go to the second machine, which is this one, PC2 is here. When I go to IP configuration, remember it was static, but I'm like, I have a DHCP server on my network. I want it automated. I want address assignment automated. Check DHCP, requesting IP address, and the address is there, correct IP address, correct subnet mask, default gateway. So the address will be assigned to machines like that, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, and so on. It is impossible to have a case where machines can assign themselves addresses, the same address like 1.3, never. So that is DHCP for you. Very, very important protocol in networking. Have you understood? Have you gotten something? Do you have any questions?
Yeah, we have understood.
You understood?
Yeah.
Any questions?
Maybe,
Yes.
maybe you can repeat why you went to use like command line
Command line for the router or for the PC?
for the router.
What do you want me to repeat?
Okay, for the PC, when you released and renew.
When I release and renew. First
Yes.
of all, do you know when we use that?
Yes, we use it when we want to refresh.
Very good. I like that. Refresh. Refresh
Yeah.
what? Refresh IP parameters. I also mentioned that sometimes you can be using your laptop and you lose internet connectivity. Don't throw your laptop down. All you have to do is type ipconfig. Here you're telling your machine, the lease has expired. So take back all the configurations to the DHCP server. Take back everything to the DHCP server. You see, to have 000 throughout, 000 throughout. But then after that, request for new parameters, ipconfig /renew. Okay. And then you have the new IP address, the subnet mask, and default what? Default gateway. DNS is 0 because we've not configured it. A DNS is domain name system. It resolves domain names to addresses. Though to do that one, there are just more commands, but I don't want to confuse anyone. Yeah. As another
Oh dear,
question,
we can proceed now.
Mr. Wilbert gave me a few minutes, and I think it is time up. Mr. Wilbert.
No, I have a question.
Thank you, Mr. Stuart. We can allow question and thank you for sharing that this interesting topic. And yeah, like they know, I think most of them are going to do internship. They know where best they can find you, or maybe you can remind them.
Oh, okay. These are the guys coming for internship?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Actually, I met some last time. Some came around last time. I don't know who came. Someone who came, Timothy and his colleagues came around last time. Who was also around? Who represented? Okay, as I wait for your questions, you can tell me. As I've told you, this is just a fraction, snapshot of what to expect. Snapshot of what to expect. Networking is what I do best. I'll show you how you can make computers talk. I'll show you how you can make computers talk through commands. All right. I just have a simple presentation that I want to share with you for the guys who missed coming to Stratcom the other day. As I wait for your questions.
Thank you. I'm in a kind of a noisy place, but thank you for the presentation. It has been really very good, collaborative, and it is handy. I've had issues. I always visit the darker web using the Tor browser and the Tor VPN. But at times when I get out of the Tor VPN, I lose internet connectivity on my laptop, whereby I have to renew, and sometimes you release and renew and it fails, and you have like to be like reinstalling the operating system. That's when you restore the connectivity. What could be the problem?
Come again.
I said, I always do visit the darker web. There are things that I always do get from it using the Tor browser and the Tor VPN. But at times when I finish using the Tor VPN and the Tor browser and close them, I lose the internet connectivity. Any network that you connect to, whether Ethernet, whether you use a hotspot or Wi-Fi, doesn't have internet connectivity. It connects to the network, but there's no internet. And even when you try to do the release and renew, it doesn't connect to the internet. And you have to just be like reinstalling the operating system. That's when you restore the internet connectivity. What could be the cause of that?
I'm sure you use Windows to do that. You use Windows.
Yes.
To do that.
Yes, I use Windows. Yes.
And Windows is not good when it comes to what? What you're building in cybersecurity operations, right?
Yes.
So in such a case, I would do what? I would advise you to always use Kali.
No, I even tried switching to Kali via the VirtualBox, but still there would be no connectivity to the internet. Not until I do that to the PC.
Maybe your friends don't know what you are saying, but that dark web is where you find all the bad guys in what? In cybersecurity, the black hat guys. It is like going to what? It is like going to a swimming pool and you find all the good swimmers in the pool. Yeah. If there's this guy who is so good, who is exceptional, he will always swim to the deep end. The others will remain in shallow water. And then there are those guys who go to the deep end and they want to pull everyone to the deep end, even those who are amateurs, and they can end up what? Drowning. So chances are high that sometimes when you're in the dark web, a person can access your machine, can log into your machine also remotely. You are there for some reason, but also a bad guy can be in your machine, can get into your machine thinking you have what? You have something that can be sold in the dark web. You have something important. So they try to get into your machine. So have you ever taken trouble to find out whether someone is into your machine, someone is messing up your stuff? Because all they want is checking if you have some good stuff on your machine. Good stuff, I mean something that can be sold in the dark web and, they get money. There's things that are sold in the dark web, like NIN numbers, ATM numbers, they are sold in the dark web. So,
yes, I've always tried everything. I turn on strong firewalls, I use the VPN, but that's the main problem. Whenever I use I turn on the VPN, when I turn it off, I lose connectivity to the internet on the machine.
Which machine? How old is your machine?
My machine was manufactured in 2019. It is an HP Omen 15.
That's a good machine. Okay, I'll give you some tips. That's when I'm discussing.
Anyway,
tomorrow
I'm passing by. There is a student of internship who would like to come and see the place. I will bring her. So I'll pass by and we discuss.
It's okay. I'll give you some tips. Just the interest of time.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, please.
I've had my colleague speaking about, accessing the dark web, and I think that should be a topic that you help discuss with him, because first of all, one thing I know with the dark web is that you also, as you access the dark web, you also need to go when you have concealed your identity. It's a place where the wrong guys are. You also, by the time you also reach there, you're also trying, to look for those wrong things. Yeah. Otherwise, on my side, it is not a question. I would like to appreciate you for the time you have dedicated for this, and also request that if there could be another time of same kind, we would really appreciate. I am also one of the students who is into networks, and I am practicing teaching CCNA. I'm already an instructor. One thing that I do not, I'm not quite good in is Linux. So by the time you dived in, I was actually very confused, and it's the time I realized that I need a lot. I have a lot to do in order to fit into that field. And on the same side, I would also request that you see how to leave your number behind. Some of us may need you privately for some other things. Yeah, we need to learn more from you.
Your friends know where to find me. Do you see your screen? Do you see something on your screen?
Yeah, I do.
This one is maybe Mr. Ulbred will allow me 3 minutes and I just take them through about Stratcom.
It's okay.
Yes, please.
Yeah, this is
I also have a question.
Okay, please.
So I've been working with the packet tracer for quite a while, but I've never interacted with those devices physically. So my question is, on the routers and switches, do those devices have, like, how are those commands input into them? The configuration command, they have a keyboard and a monitor where those commands can be input, or I don't know how those commands are inputted.
Okay, this is David. David, some of your friends came to Stratcom last time, and I took them through a brief session, and some guys were like, they're already in, that I gave them a feeling of networking. Maybe when you find time, you should come to Stratcom and see those devices. I'm also going to display that one. So I don't know if you're seeing this picture. The routers are these ones you're seeing in the rack. And I have them at Stratcom. So once there's a small cable you're seeing here, you connect that cable. It's called a console cable.
We are not seeing your screen. We are not seeing your screen very well where you are.
Oh. Sorry. What about now?
You can now see.
You can now see?
Yes,
So I
sir.
was saying this is Stratcom. Like Stratcom is my tech hub. It's for just hands-on exposure for students, professionals, and anyone who wants to get crazy to become a networking ninja. Ninja to mean expert. So to answer David's question, David, here is a rack. First of all, those devices are stored, they are not stored in a cupboard or in a box. Those routers, you saw them in Packet Tracer. They are here in this picture. They are very, very expensive devices, very expensive. And people who can work with them are very few, who know how to work with them are very few. So you put them in an enclosure called a rack, okay, so that you avoid movements. When you mishandle it, its image, it's called an Internet Network Operating System. Its image can crash. And getting a new image, you have to import it either from US or from UK. It's a lot of money. Not a lot, but it takes a lot. Now, to configure this device, as you can see, they're like a system unit of a machine. They don't have a monitor. They don't have, actually, they don't have a display screen monitor. But you connect a cable to the console port of the router and then run that cable to the desktop. That cable is called the console cable. The guys you're seeing here, the lady in red, was actually configuring this. The guy was assisting with connecting, and the lady was doing the configurations. So it is, you interact with the router and the switch using a console cable. And then you also need what to call terminal emulation software. It is intermediary between you, the end user, and the networking device. At Stratcom, we use PuTTY. It can either be PuTTY, Teraterm, or Secure CRT. But PuTTY is what I really recommend because, first of all, it is free of charge. It is free of charge and it is lightweight. It's like 2 MB. It is very lightweight. So you connect, or you can also use your laptop. If you have to use a laptop to configure the routers, you must have a cable. One side must be RJ45, another side must be USB. That cable is called the DB9 cable. If you don't have a DB9 cable, you can buy a connector. Actually, it's called a converter. A converter is around 50,000. It converts RJ45 connection to USB, and you'll be able to use your laptop to configure the routers. So whatever we do, you can have like a data center. Data center, you can have like 5 racks, each full of routers. So it's all about commands. Now, when the routers are many, they dissipate heat. The room can be a bit hot. So you need what to call ACs, air conditioners, to keep the temperature a bit cool, like a bit cool. So it is not uncommon to find a guy who works in a data center when he's putting on a sweater at 2 p.m., very hot afternoon, and the guy is putting on a sweater because that environment is always what? Very cold. And then these are called IP phones. They are some of the end user devices. You have seen IP phones in organizations. Organizations like don't incur airtime costs. You connect these IP phones to the switch, run a cable to the router. In such a case, the router will actually perform another role called the Call Manager Express, controlling the IP phones. And you don't have phone numbers for like mobile numbers, like your 0758. Those are phone numbers. They're really long, like 9 digits. For IP phones, you need extension numbers. They are normally 3 or 4 digits. 111, 222, 333, 411. They can tell you 411 is for the manager, 412 is for the assistant manager, 443 is for this other person. They're called extension numbers. So when you place a call in your organization, you don't incur your time because the IP phones use the same network infrastructure as the devices for data. Desktops, laptops are for data. IP phones are for voice. So they use the same infrastructure. When you connect your IP phones to the switch will power on the IP phones. You don't need a separate charger or adapter. That's called power over Ethernet. The same data cable that transfers the voice calls will also charge the IP phones. So when you come for internship, I'll show you how to configure, how to set up a VoIP solution. VoIP solution requires you to have IP phones. You've seen these ones. You need the router, which will be a call manager express, and a switch that supports power over Ethernet. So we are registered. We are known for equipping university students with hands-on skills and practical competence needed by employers, and you'll be good when you finish, I can tell you. I'm not bragging, but we are good at what we do.
Yeah,
We
I've
have-
actually,
Hold on. We have a
personally,
tech-
I've actually seen and
We have a tech hub equipped with IT devices, as you see, and our training approach is hands-on. We don't give you tests. We don't give you assignments, no courseworks. I've already told you that. We only give you hands-on skills, hands-on exposure, all right? And then this is what we do: networking and system administration, web and mobile apps development, cybersecurity operations, the guy of the dark web. Make sure you don't miss cybersecurity operations sessions. Graphics design, database administration, Linux for network engineers. It was Faustin who was asking about Linux. Yes, if you are to do networking, in addition to commands, you must also be comfortable with Linux for network engineers. Sharing, setting up a DHCP server. How do you set up a DHCP server in Linux? How do you set up a file server in Linux so that an organization can save resources? Because Linux is free, you just have to know stuff, edit configuration files, and set up a box. Second, you don't need a very powerful machine. A Pentium 4 with 2 GB of RAM can work as a Linux server. If it is Windows, you need a very good machine, powerful machine with a lot of RAM and hard disk space. Some of you take your machines, laptops to town when they get a problem and the technicians steal your components. When you come for these sessions, especially dismantling and assembling laptops, you will learn how to fix your own PC issues, laptop issues, replacing broken screen, replacing stuff, keyboard, testing capacitors and resistors on the motherboard. You see this lady, she was from Kyambogo University. She dismantled her own machine. Actually, I think she had the, not even think, she had the broken screen. I had to tell her where you can buy a screen in town, and then we showed her how to replace it. We were just guiding her, and she did stuff on her own, and she was so excited. The colleague who was studying wanted to upgrade RAM on his laptop, and upgrading RAM is just also very easy. If you take your machine to guys in town to upgrade your RAM, you might end up even having your RAM stolen because some of those guys are fake. Yeah, fake technicians, they steal people's components. If you know how to do stuff, you'll be the good technician who doesn't steal people's what? Components or swap components. So this will be in dismantling and assembling laptops. Some people call it PC repair, but me, I love dismantling. You dismantle your machine, put it on the dining at home, and everyone will be scared. They'll be like, okay, our guy is doing computer science at home. And then this is also a rack. There are so many wires. Cable management is very important. Cable management. So you can get your laptop, connect a console cable to the router and switch, and begin your configurations. As long as your laptop has that software I told you, it's called PuTTY. It is free of charge. You can get it from the internet. It's 2 MB. And then when you launch a connection to one router, you don't have to keep on changing to all the routers. You can run another protocol. I don't know if they've heard about SSH and Telnet. You can log into other devices remotely without, you make a connection to one device and access all the other devices remotely using protocols like SSH and Telnet. I will show you how to do all that. I'll even show you how you can be here right now. I'm in Makerere right now, but I can log into your smartphone where you are using a tool called TeamViewer. I can be here in Makerere and I log into your smartphone. If you have a problem with your smartphone, you want to install some software, I don't have to run wherever you are. I can be here in Makerere and I access your smartphone using TeamViewer. I do whatever I want, correct the mistakes, and I'll be like, I am done remotely. So there are different tools we use remotely. Then if you're on the network, you don't use TeamViewer. You use what we call remote desktop connection. For example, you can be in a building, you're on a flat, you're on level 1, you are the IT support guy, level 1, and you have your manager on level 6. he or she has a problem with her laptop, you don't have to take a lift or stairs to level 6. You can just log into his or her laptop remotely using remote desktop connection. Solve the problem at the at the comfort of your desk, wherever you are, remotely. I'll show you all these things during LAN sessions at Stratcom. So there is we know what we are doing. Bullet 3, we are good. You'll get a certificate at the end. You'll get free tea and porridge for the whole duration of the internship. And then towards the end, I'll invite my fellow colleagues who are also in the area of networking, network administration, and system engineering to talk to you. If you love code, I also invite developers to talk to you. And it is a party that I pay for, where I pay for everything. Free drinks, free cake, free career talk. You can get a leaf from someone's story, or someone can inspire you by whatever he has shared with you. How he started the journey. How do you become a good network engineer? What do IT system administrators do? How do I become a very good developer? How do I become a techpreneur? Techpreneur, not entrepreneur, but techpreneur. Yeah. How do you use your skills to get money? This is like in the career talk, free of charge for all interns at Stratcom, and we are the only ones who do that. For details, someone wanted my details right there. This is my number. It's on WhatsApp. If you haven't registered, send me a hello message. I'll share with you a link, and I'll send your acceptance letter tomorrow. Tomorrow before what? Before midday. Before midday. Registration is free. All right. And then this is the end of the internship week. Your internship is 8 weeks. In week 7, I love celebrating milestones.
Give me back the number first.
Okay, I was saying, I'm going to share. I love celebrating my milestones. Internship, since you would have acquired skills, unique skills that are really hands-on, I'll make sure that you guys eat cake. And this is for last year. This is 2024. The guys of 2024 ate cake, like it was a celebration. It's a cake day. I call it cake day or career talk. You will cut cake. This time I'm going to buy 5 big cakes so that you take 2 pieces and pack 1 for a friend of yours at home. All right? So we shall be celebrating skills, hands-on skills, and at the same time finishing internship. And on that very day, you also get your certificates. Here is my number. Here's my number. Okay. Is it okay? Yeah. So if you want to see where Stratcom is, in Africa, we believe in touching and seeing. Do you also guys believe in touching and seeing? Do you guys believe in touching and seeing?
Yeah, we believe in it.
Yeah. We do, and actually, Stratcom. I didn't know that you are the guys of Stratcom. I'd recently applied as a network engineer, but you guys didn't get back to me.
You applied? No, we didn't advertise any position.
Maybe it was scam, but it was from the I think a website, something similar to Stratcom, and it had like a poster.
Not Stratcom.
But otherwise, thank you for all the good work.
That reminds me, be careful of the sites you visit. Someone will come up with a name close to Stratcom. It can be Stratcom and be like, this is the place to be, Stratcom, not Stratcom. And then you'll be excited.
Yeah, true.
There. It is not Stratcom, but Stratcom. The next thing is like, click here to access the registration link. When you click, you lose all your mobile money balance. It has happened before. So make sure you click on links, funny links. They have to be authentic, because some of those links, that now the cybersecurity, someone can create a link whereby if you click on it, it activates a code in the back end that can clear all your mobile money balance, So be careful. Always make sure that the links you are clicking are authentic. And so if you are to receive a registration link from me, it has to be from this number, this one, the one I've highlighted. This is my number. Okay? Any other information or links, whatever, from another number, not this one. That is not from me. That's not from Stratcom. This is mine. So I look forward to seeing
we
you
have
all. I'll take
we
you
have
through
taken note of
cybersecurity.
that.
I love cybersecurity so much because people get scammed a lot, and many times I feel so bad. So I'll take you through cybersecurity so that you live when you are well grounded. You'll be like, now I have finished my internship. I can even start looking for jobs now. Yeah. There's a guy who was like network engineer. If you want to apply for a network engineering position, Linux must be on your fingertips. If you don't know Linux, then I don't know what to say, but Linux must be on your fingertips. These commands must also be on your, in other words, I'm trying to say you must be good hands-on. I appreciate you, Mr. Wilbert, for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. I think we are ready. We can't wait for May.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and even besides internship colleagues, you can go there also for short courses, also for certifications, as they are very important in our careers.
Yes. I think I'll have to talk about certification another time. Why certifications are important. Not certificates, but certifications. How you can obtain an edge over everyone doing computer science in other universities. How can you obtain an edge? How can you be different from everyone doing the same course in another university? That should be a talk for another day. That would be a nice one, isn't it?
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have you, and we are having someone who's going to take us through Windows Server administration.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I wish you well.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, but before you go, why don't you discount the money for internship and we join there?
Come again? Okay, why? It is because I'm answering your question, right?
Yes,
May I answer your
Simon.
question? Very good. Let me put this
Yeah,
picture.
but why don't you discount the money for internship and we join? Because the money, you know the situation, sir.
It is just 200,000, 200, nothing, like not more than that, 200. That fee includes a free party, free cake, free drinks, free tea and porridge for the duration of internship. That is fine. Powering on that rack, this rack you're seeing here, powering on that rack, and running
Even on lunch
devices.
or just on tea and just only for tea. Even on lunch or just only for breakfast.
If I give you everything, lunch, supper, dinner, what you do, so I'll give you only tea so that you focus.
Okay.
Mr. James, you have got his number. And how much do you want? You want to pay how much? Do you know how much those routers cost? Anyway,
let me tell him, one router here, this one, it goes for around refurbished second hand is 4.5 million Uganda shillings. Refurbished, brand new is about 7 million. That is just one. A switch refurbished means second hand, can go for around 1.5 to 1.7. Brand new is about 3.5 to 4 million. And another thing is you can't find them anywhere in Uganda. If you need the good ones, you have to import. Now, powering on this rack, like devices in this rack, so that guys can do configurations practically. The units of Yaka you have to use per day cost around 80,000 per day.
Mr. Stewart,
yeah.
I think he has your number. He's going to inbox you. Like someone has been waiting in the room for like 40 minutes.
Okay.
I think.
Thank you so much.
Mr. James, please, use his inbox.
Okay, sir.
He has shared his number.
I wanted to know.
Someone can even repost it in the chat. You will text him. Colleagues, We are coming to the end of our session, and we are remaining with our last guest speaker. And I think, I hope the session is taking you well, and you are capturing a lot of things. Please, if you are not submitting something, I request you mute your microphone. And allow me welcome our guest speaker, Mr. Muwampa Beda from Uganda Police, who will take us through Windows Server administration, and he will introduce more about himself and what he does. Mr. Beda, you are welcome.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Woodblood. Allow me to share my screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then, if you're able to see my screen, that's good. Will you forgive me? I may not be having good network. It's a good afternoon, everybody. As Mr. Woodblood earlier said, I'm called Beda Niwampa, and I work with Uganda Police, and I'm going to take you through Windows Server administration. Kindly, can somebody mute? Okay, thank you very much. As I've told you, I'm Beda Niwampa, and I do system administration. I do network and security at Uganda Police, and I'm going to take you through the Windows Server administration. Well, time is not our friend because it's coming to lunch, but we shall pass through as quick as possible, and maybe I check. We shall just get basics, maybe next time better. When somebody told, we are going to first have this overview you're seeing on your screen. The introduction to Windows Server, where and why is it important? User and group management, whereby we shall find the creating of accounts and managing permissions. Security and access control, Windows Server roles, services, how they are configured in that Active Directory. Then we shall have some real world applications of them. But before that, we all need to know, I just need to know whether we have ever interacted with. Is there any person who has ever interacted with the Windows Server? Do we have any person who has interacted with the Windows Server in the class? Yes.
I think the silent means no.
Okay. It's where?
I am here.
Yes. You have ever interacted with Windows?
I have,
Okay.
yes, I have ever interacted with one.
Which one have you interacted with?
It's a Windows.
Windows Server what? Which one? Which version? Okay, it's where we shall see, we shall reach there. Let's just hurry. We need first understand what a Windows Server is. A Windows Server, when you talk about a Windows Server, it is a robust, it's an operating system. It is designed to manage servers, running business applications, and they control network resources. And the key features we are seeing, we have Active Directory, we have group policies, we have DNS, DHCP, and IIS. We shall see all these in the live environment, and we shall know how they are important. We ask ourselves, why Windows Server? Yes, they're telling us it is a backbone of enterprise IT system, providing tools to manage users, security, and resources in a business environment. As we get to the live environment, you will see that you get where you find it is managed, it can manage users, you can set the security mechanisms, and you have the resources within the business environment. What do they mean if they talk about the business environment? They are meaning whatever that you're doing within that same organization that you are within. So the versions, this is the question I was telling you about. We already had versions that they are phasing up one by one. We see we had Windows Server 2003, and this Windows 2003 was released on April 2003, and it had some key features, whereby these key features, I won't be able to explain everything because I want to take you on the live environment so that we can do something. These key features, whatever that follows it, it comes in an improved way. And they are telling you that the one that was released in 2003, it phases in July 2015. That means phased off in 2015, July. That means the end of support is over. If in case of anything, they cannot give you a support. So after Windows 2003, we had Windows Server 208. And they also, I'll give you this document. They tell you it was released in Feb 2008 with key features. And these key features, you need to understand that they are a bit advanced than the 2003. Then we got another Windows Server 2012. Windows Server 2012 was released September 2012 with key features which are higher than 2008. Then we get to know another Windows Server 2016, which was released in October 2016 with key features, and they are saying that it will have its end support in 2027. That means whoever is using Windows 2016 by 2027 should plan of upgrading that Windows Server, maybe 2019 or 2022, or the one that is about to come out. From 2016, we have another Windows Server 2019. We have another Windows Server 2022, and we're expecting another Windows Server 2025. This one has not been released yet, and is just being anticipated. It's going to be released, and its end of support. Its end of support, they are not giving us its end of support, but we'll be having is also the end of support. What do we mean by when we say end of support? End of support means that in case you get any issue with that server, you are not going to be helped in any way. They will just tell you to upgrade to the latest one. So currently, we are using 2016, 2019, 2022. They are mostly used, and you have a chance of interacting with one, which I will display here. So they are telling you about user and group management. In the user and group management, it's where we do the creating and managing of the user accounts. We create users in that Active Directory, and we assign those users with access rights and other setups that we shall look at. And in it, we set group policies. The group policy configuration still, they are set within what we're going to do. Let me allow my first to go to the server so that whatever we see this side, we go the other side and we see it on a live environment. I think that is the best option. Yes, I think that is the best option. So we need to know that most of the time when you're going to login servers, they are housed in data centers, as you earlier heard from the previous speaker told you about the data center and the housing of the servers and other devices. So what you do here, you remote in that server. We are going to remote in one, and then we see what we are talking about. When you are remoting that server, you just come and just do a remote desktop, that is RDP. Well, you see, I'm using this one. What I'm using here, it's because this is a public IP. I'm outside the network. I'm in up country. It's because I've configured it on the other side of the firewall, as earlier told you about network configuration, whereby you give it a port that whenever you are not on that network, you're going to remote in that device. That's why you just put your private IP within that organization, as I was telling you that when you're on level 1 or level 3 up, you just remote in that specific device. You put that IP, maybe it can be 192.168.maybe 50.53. You remote in and you connect. Those who have never, of course, it will tempt you to log in. When it tempts you to log in, you put in your credentials and you log in. Are we able to see this?
Yes, sir, we are able to see.
Yes, this is a Windows server. This is how it looks like. We have remoted in, and after remoting in, we have gotten the one that is housed within the data center via a remote desktop, RDP. When you're within the network, you don't need the ports you saw me putting. I'm putting it as I've told you because I'm just using over internet. I'm somewhere, but that one is only configured on a file, and you assign it a port so that you can access it somewhere. So when you reach on the server like this, we are talking about creating users and policies. When you touch on your Windows key, it will give you this page, and you just use Server Manager. Yes, on this Server Manager, we have tools. On these tools, we shall get very many things around here. But remember, we have just talked about creating users. That's what we talked about, creating users. Since we said we are creating users, and if I go on Active Domain Trust and I go on Action and Manage, what happens here? What happened? This is a domain. This is a domain whereby everything is created within this domain. And if you want to create a user, that means the user will be in this domain here. When you make an extension, well, if you want to create, you just come. That means you come and create an organization unit. Yes. When you create an organization unit, and you say, okay, it is here. That means in this organization unit, I've created, if I come inside it here and I check everything that is within, I come to new, I come down and I say user. That means I'm going to enter your name. I put maybe last name. You can as well put this Olivet. Then you put in the login credentials. Maybe would be like maybe beta underscore in. You say next, and you give a password of it. You give a password of it, and you confirm a password of it. If you're creating a user and is not around, maybe you are not with him or her, it's when you say user must change the password in the next login, which means whatever I've put in, I'll give it to you on a paper, but for your first login, you change it. But if you're there and I don't want, you can type for yourself. Maybe I can untick this and I use this. Then I say next and finish. I've created the user. So this user is what we are talking about, that you can create a user on a Windows server via AD. So that means this user, I can assign anything I want. I can give policies I want, or else I can attach policies on this same folder. Are we getting something? Are we trying
Yes,
to pick
we're
something?
getting something.
Okay. So we are talking about that you can create users. There is users, then group management. In group management, it means you are not going to create a user. In a group management, that means you follow the same, of course, you always follow the same steps. I told you just click on Windows button and you just use the same procedure because you have every option here. Depends on what you want to. If you want to manage computers, yes. If you want to have group policies management, yes. But they are saying group management. What do they mean by the word group management? Group management, they are trying to tell you that whatever that is within here, this is a group, all these are groups, and what we have created, we created this one called a class. It is a group. So what they are meaning by group management, they are trying to tell you that this group and people who are there, they are managed at once. Whatever policy you create on this folder won't affect this one. This one won't affect this one. Okay, none of these will affect each other unless if I create a policy on this domain. If I create a policy of this domain, that means it's going to affect each folder here. Each folder will be affected if I've created on this domain. But if I've created it within, outside, if I've created it inside this domain, maybe I've created it on folder called maybe edit test. Whatever that goes down, it will not pick it. Unless if I go back, I will show you as we go down, and I tell it to inherit it. There is what we call inheritance. If I tell you to inherit, that means you are going, and I say inherit the already existing policy that have aligned on the group of class. Automatically it will follow you. I think together here. Okay. Okay. What a simple thing here, whenever you're dealing with a server, you don't log out. You don't come and say shut down or what, and you have remoted in. You don't do that. When you shut it down, when you say shut down because you have finished the operation, that means the server in the data center, it will go off. You just come, and terminate here. You don't do anything when it is displaying like this. I'm just minimizing because I want that we go together. So we saw about creating users. An example, I created a folder in that group. I created in a user, and that user, I can assign him whatever wants to do the access, to allow to access via maybe the network resource, maybe the computers, maybe the printers, maybe the files to be accessed on what is supposed. If I have finance and I have logistics, that means a person of finance is not going to see to have the same policies running with him like that one of finance. The same way applies probably like I think in network they have told you about the VLANs. The same way applies to the VLAN, as you say, you are making that statement of making sure that you're having different VLAN and they are transporting different a lot of different things within their VLAN. And here, whatever that is assigned to another folder, maybe a person of finance, it is not going to affect the person of logistics. So we are saying that we have user types. We have a standard user and an administrator. When I talk about a standard user versus an administrator is the one that issues all those permissions, rights, policies, and the audits can carry out the audits and very many things. But a standard user, just what does is I can just as well say is an end user. He takes over whatever that has been assigned to him or her. Even just changing a password, we have to go and say to call an administrator of the server, and we manage for him to change the password and read for him maybe, or send. Then they change their own passwords. So when we talk about the group policy configuration, yes, the group policy configuration, we are talking about the policies that are assigned on certain each groups, as we are talking about earlier. An example environment. I earlier told you that whatever you're doing here, when that on Windows and User Manager, you only deal with these tools. And these tools have what to call group policy management. And this group policy management, when you open it, will come like that in whatever server that is configured on this site, as we're talking about the AD server and its components. The group policy management will need you to have all this. And when you open this, the forest that is the domain, when you open it, it will give you the size and others. When you open this one and takes you and you open it, it is just showing you that the following policies are existing. Yes. And for example, we created this Tajustica and have not given it any policy on policy management. That means if I click on it and I tell it to link to link the existing group policies, that means if I've said to link, it will take everything that has been created here. And if I want to manage them, I can select what I want to be here and I leave others. But then, or if I find that all these ones, I don't want them, I will not inherit. I'll just come to it, to this, and I just create. I just create for itself, because I will just make a policy name. After making a policy name, I'll just say, okay. Then this policy name, I'll go in and set what I want. For example, if I've named it just HH, and I want this policy only not maybe to log you out after 3 hours. Whenever you reach at work and you just log in this computer in the other machine for 3 hours, this policy should log you out. That's where I will set it. But then remember, I've not linked it with the existing policies, or at least if I find that they have been there already, I can just disable them and I create my own policies. In policy management, it's only the way you play around with the policies, but usually depending on the organization's need. You don't just wake up and you start making your own policies because maybe you have a girlfriend and you want her to access the finance and she's in logistics, as we earlier said. Then you just come and you create a folder for her. Then you attach that policy. You don't do like that. You do it according to the need of the organization and according to the policies set, and they are well aligned and they are known. That's how you do it. So, talked about policy management. Yes. Group policy configuration. Yes, the group policy configuration, that is the same thing, because they tell you it has the setting of the password, the user login restrictions, the software installation, and the desktop setting. Yes, all these, you control them depending on what the user is going to do. You can get that folder of users, as we have said. You attach those specific restrictions, because it's not that for you wake up and you say in the user login, log out at this time. No, when you go through the inbuilt policies within the server, you check, you read through, you see what is dealing with that restriction. It's the one you pull and you push it in the other folder where that specific user is. And they're telling you that in a real world example, the group policy, these group policies, they ensure password complicity, yes, across an enterprise network. And here what I can assure you is it is not easy. to ensure that, unless if you have some other tools, you need other tools, maybe the one like the Audit Plus, and you need others like AD 360. If it is AD, if it is the other servers, if and is not running such as this, maybe it is running the website, it is running other application, you need it is called Manage Engine Plus. You need the Manage Engine Plus because they come with a 360 combination, most of them, and you just maneuver with them. As you can see on this server, I have what you call Manage Engine, and I have a 360. Yes, AD 360, which means in this AD 360, I have a lot of other policies that can run via browser. You call them and you put a specific port. They use the port 8082. That specific port, we call this AD 360, and you set policies. And these policies you will not be accessing actually just on this server. You pull wherever you are, as long as you have server mapped your IP, the private IP to the public IP, and you can access it very well, then you manage it from there. And on that one, you can set whatever policies you want, because on on-prem server manager, we are limited. Yes. So we have the dashboard. We are limited, and we buy other tools. If it is AD, we said AD 360, or else we can just have AD Audit Plus. We can have other tools like the Adaxes. They are within that Manage Engine. Then all those will help you to have a lot of features and settings within this server. So when you get them and they are licensed, everything here because most of the things here, when you're running them, they will be asking you keys. Yes, the license, which means you have to have that suit, a combination of the 360. And I don't want that you take the server that is just dealing with such kind. No, a server they do a lot of things. As I've told you, they can be for hosting, maybe the website, the applications, and others. Only that whatever server whatever it is, it can be managed and can be automated the way you want it, and depending on the organization's need. So we don't need to only focus on this one, but specifically we know this one is used by most of the organization in managing users, devices, etc., whatever that is within the organization. Even the other devices we are talking about, the routers and switches, we can have them combined here and pulse them with the use of the other the 360 plus. It can help you to do all this, and you have all the settings of the Adaxes and others. Well, let's continue, and we discover some other things. We assess whatever we have been talking about Active Directory. We have been
I'm no longer accessing your audio. I don't know whether I'm alone.
No, you are not alone. I think we can be patient as we wait for him to come back. I think he's having some connectivity issues. I see some of your colleagues are running away. Are they tired?
I also see the numbers dropped down. But I know now we are almost coming to the end of the session.
Yeah, but anyway, for those one is interested, I will share the recording. You can again review in your free time. Yeah, he's back.
Okay, as I earlier told you, my network is disturbing me, but we can continue. Are we able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. So we are talking about that we have already seen about the users, then groups, but we have not seen about these devices. These devices are very funny. As I earlier told you when I remote in, okay, I think we are able to see. You have remoted in and I've told you about that you use the Windows key. When you come here and we have been talking about the tools, I mean the devices. These devices, they use the same way. When you're in managing, you just need to manage them and you just have to identify them here. As we can all see here, I just want to open one folder. This is for learning, and maybe I open for you this folder called UPF. If I open this folder called UPF, I have whereby I have okay. Are we seeing this folder? UPF, this is computers. This one, that means it is going to capture, it is meant there to capture the computers. Yes. It is there to capture computers, whatever computer that is within that region, it is aligned here. If it is maybe that they are not there, you create a folder and you name it. If you want to make them devices, and you name it maybe switches, maybe computers, and you call that specific computer, you capture the name, the IP address, and others, you push it there. After pushing it there, what happens? The policies you have been attaching to a user, that is not a policy you're going to attach to a device that you have mentioned under the computers. What happens if I attach a policy on a computer, that means whoever comes on that computer, that policy will grab that person. If I've said maybe when you come on this computer, you're not going to use a USB. Yes, I've said you're not going to use a USB, but then there are other people who are going to come and they're supposed to use USBs. How do you do it? No, what you do, you only attach that policy to a specific person. If me, Nwampa, I want to print, I want to use USB, I want to install, I want to see the finance. You give me those permissions. Then if Mr. Wilbrod is only to monitor, that means maybe he's not supposed to access the command prompt. Limit him alone and leave the device alone. The device remains as it must be, so that a person's the policies that are just attached on a person are the ones to fight him alone as he's logging in that device. Because I can give you an account and I say you are not supposed to access the command prompt. That means you come and type in CMD to not display it, to tell just contact the administrator. But if you have attached it to that specific device, that means you're limiting any other person, which means what you're supposed to do here, you need to reason before you do anything in this management of these servers. You weigh and see what am I supposed to, otherwise you'll be affecting even other people. I can come with a flash. Maybe you're the head of department. You want to use any machine and define when they are blocked, when they have different processes. No, attach him and you give him access rights because you're the head of department. You're going to do A, B, C, D, maybe up to 99%. Maybe what you're not going to is the super admin. What a super admin is doing, you're not going to do it. That's how it is done. Let's go back on the other side. Everyone can now understand and know the devices. Yes.
A quick question. So literally meaning when you are talking about policies, these
Yes.
are simply the rights given by any user in the server.
Yes.
My question is,
yes,
when you are talking about policies, does it mean you are trying to refer on the rights given to any user on the server? For example, when you are configuring.
I'm not getting you well.
I was saying, are you now getting me?
I'm getting you.
When you are talking about policies, does it mean you are trying to mean the rights given to users in the server?
Okay. You don't give rights on the server. You only give rights on the server to only administrators. Maybe if you're a system administrator, we give you rights on what you manage on that server. But a user, a policy comes in that a policy is like what he or she is supposed to access. It is termed as a policy. That means if I can't say that is maybe because you can't call it an access. For example, I gave here an example of like you are not going to access USB. That is a policy. The policy says that some people will not access a USB. But who are those people? You mentioned them. Then you put them in one folder. A folder is not, it's called an organization unit. In that organization unit, you attach that rule or that policy. It can be a rule, it can be a policy on that organization unit. That means in that organization unit, that specific person is there. But this, when you talk about a server, people who only access the server, they are administrators, maybe system administrators to be specific. System administrators are the ones who access the server. The end users, they just get a sheet, maybe username, they log in credentials with their password. Then they change. I gave you an example that if you're here, I don't need to give you a password that you change. I tell you, type in for yourself. Then I showed you, let me take you back. Just a moment, just a moment. Okay. I told you that if I had what I put around here. Class, yes. In this class, I can come here and I create a new user. This new user, as I create this new user, and I give him the login, this is where I determine here. If you're around, if you're not around, I just click here and I give you a password, then I give you a sheet with it, then you change. But if you're not there, I just click somewhere here and no, if you're not there, I click here and you change. If you are around, I can maybe password never expired. Maybe user cannot change the password, whatever. That's what you can, that's how a user gets. But for the server, it's a different issue. It's only system administrators who can log there, and they also don't have the same similar permissions, maybe rights. They don't have similar rights. There is a super admin and there are other admins, depending, but the super admin takes over the role of that specific server. And that's why you're saying, when you see me writing administrator, that is the super admin account. That means others, you can come with your name and but then you check in the object and properties, you assign them what they are supposed to do on that specific server. You can only be there to create users. You can only be there to create organization. You can only be there to make policy, to just deal with the policy management. Depends on what I assign you as a super admin. I think there I'm very clear with you.
Yeah, I got you very well.
Okay. So the AD structure, the domains, we saw about the domain where you saw the upf.go.uk. Yes, when these domains, you set it as you're configuring the server. It is not hard. It is just some simple steps, as we have always seen when you're putting OS, they give you some simple steps. As during that time, as you're installing is when they ask you for that domain and you put it there, and it will generate. It will come with some embedments, and it takes you to the finish level. Then you finish. It is very simple. We have security and access controls. Yes. In these servers, we have how we configure the Windows Defender and firewalls. A simple thing, but they affect a lot. Most of the time, you find maybe limiting you from installing something. Maybe the files is also in limiting you. Depends on what you're doing. But how do you do with the Windows Server and firewalls? As you just see, when in Windows Server is the simplest thing I think we should always get used to it is as even if you come and you just type Windows Server, I mean Windows Defender, it will come and you just check through. You just check through here. Just simple as that, you check through. You just maneuver with it here. You just make settings. It's like our normal PCs. if it is a firewall, also they'll just when you search it, it will just blink, and you either turn it off or on, depending on what you want to do. Because most of the time you can be doing something and tells you that before you continue, what you're going to do is turn off the firewall. That means you have to come here and type it, then you turn off that firewall. Depends on what you want to at that specific time. Just as simple as that. Then another thing, what we are talking about, the implementing of BitLock encryption is as we have always done to our PCs. Yes, as we have always done to our PC, the same thing. The same thing. How you can do to this, because it just gives you on the other side, and you just turn off the BitLock as the password, and it is you put in then. But to make sure that whenever you always do this one, make sure that you can remember, you can write somewhere, probably you can have a notepad, and because whenever it is you forget it, then that is another story. You have to be careful as you're doing this one. But it's so important to have it there too. It is just as simple as that. We have a user authentications, the LDAP, Radius, and MFA. I earlier told you about the 360. The 360 has a combination of a lot of this, and I can maybe first show you something brief. Can show you something brief. Let me check where I have it. Just a moment. Just a moment. Just a moment. Okay, I think we shall reach there. But I was trying to tell you that the combination of the 360, it has all these authentications, whereby they allow you to have the license of them. Then after, what they do, they bring you these protocols. I was checking on the other side where I had these licenses. I wanted to show you about them. But the LDAP, that protocol is used for accessing and managing the directory services. And all these directory services are within, as I earlier said, when you click here and you come here, these are some of the things that we configure. Depends on how you configure them, and depends on the license you have bought. But usually, what is done, you only have to buy that tool. You have license of it, and you can configure it well. And usually it has some service providers. They give you a link, and within that link it is embedded there. Yes. Just excuse me, don't, Mr. Wilbrod. Mr.
Yes.
Wilbrod.
Yes.
Just briefly, I think you can do something. Just briefly.
Colleagues, I'm going to share the slides in that group. That group that was uniting us for today's session. And I think I'm also going to share the link for the recording. For those ones who have paid for the certificate and you haven't paid, I kindly request you to contact Timothy. And Emma is saying that he's not part of the group. I think you're going to be added in the group, and I think we can continue using this group for future discussions about network and system administration. So I expect the list, Timo, and maybe in case you have used the other channels also, you will inbox me by the end of today's session.
And do you think Timo should avail us with a number like mobile money where people can easily pay?
Timothy, you can type your number in the chat. I hope you are part of us anyway. Yes, he has sent it in the names of. You can inbox him as well.
I have sent the link here for the group.
Okay. Mr. Beda, you are back. Beda.
Mr. Ubrod, I'm back.
Okay.
Okay.
I know there are a lot of things to cover, and these guys have been here since 9, and I think they are tired. You can wrap up.
Let me just check something brief down, and we can. There's something I wanted to show them. There is something I wanted to show them. We can probably see about the DNS, the setting, the DHCP, the DNS, and others, the IIS. As I was logging this server, we are seeing them here. When you see this, it depends on what you want to do. And let me start with this one. Mostly here we are going to talk about the DHCP. DHCP means the IPs that you're signing, they are just they are dynamic. It can pick anything. And usually on these servers, we have some other embedments within them, whereby we cannot just assign one IP. Probably we always have one static, then others which are DHCP. But when you're picking the other, specifically on this AD server, when you're picking those computers, we are just using the DHCP, and the other static only is just read by the other the other computers, whereby when you're configuring them, you assign that specific IP. If this one was 154.7.2.0.4, it's the IP you put in the other side and to be pulled. But on the server itself, you leave it a DHCP. When I talk about the static and DHCP, what do I mean? Probably if I go back, let me use my personal computer. If I'm using this piece of mine, I'm meaning if I want static IPs, that means I'm going to fill in here and I give them a subnet mask and a gateway, then a DNS, and I save it. That means to be the static. But for DHCP, you just leave it so that it can pick whatever it wants. It just picks randomly. If I was the first and I've picked 192.168.12.2, the other one probably is going to pick .3, the other one then .4. But if I've made it static, it means that specific 192.168.12.2 is specifically for that machine. No one else will pick it. But the other case, if I've used it in DHCP and data I log out, that means any other person can get that. Can get that specific IP. That's all. That's just on DHCP and static. The same configuration. The way we do on our PCs and other. The same thing we do on servers. Then what we need to know. How we access these servers. I told you earlier that we do a remote desktop. Yes, a remote desktop, we do it because we don't sit maybe in the data set where they are housed. We have that extension, and whenever you're aware of the networks, where you can opt to have a server map of it, and you are using the 3380 as a port. You also have a remote of it, and it is the RDP is a built-in for Windows servers. For the other Linux and others, we don't use RDP. We SSH in them. That is a different issue. And in this remote, what you do, you need to know the IP of that server and the username plus the password, as I've always been doing as I've been remoting in this server. I think all of us, if we can understand that, it is a very important thing to note. And we need to get used to the server manager. Only here, we need to get used with it. I think as earlier Mr. Ubo talked about, we shall maybe have another session so that we can get to understand about these Windows servers and we go through them. Well, let's not see only this one, but if, because somebody else there can ask, is talking about this one because it has configured AD server and others. No, they look the same. I don't want to say that this server is maybe it is just talking about the AD server. For example, if I give you this, this is another server. Yes, leave alone this one. This is displaying a firewall and other things. Leave alone this. I think we are seeing they are the same depending on the IP I'm using. Yes, they are the same. Only depends on what you want to use it for. Like this one, I can do anything. I can use it for web hosting. I can use it for other applications. Maybe I'd for a system for maybe election and others. Then I host it on this server. So these Windows servers, they are so much important and very easy to interact with. We just get used with them so that we can be there, and we can work with them because they are very simple and they have a lot of components that we all need to know. And it's where here you can start from before again you look deep in Linux and others. I think Mr. Obrod, we can allow some few questions and maybe they go for that.
Yes, I have a question, a quick one. Can you
Yes.
give us a sneak peek on how you can configure, for example, your system?
Can you speak? Can you be loud a bit?
I was saying, are you getting me now?
Yes, I'm getting you.
Can you give us a small snap peek on how you can configure, for example, you said when you develop your system, how you can configure it on a Windows server? Just some hint, because you have just mentioned it without any hint.
Nicodemus,
I don't understand exactly. Do you need like an exact explanation of what you do?
Yes, exactly. For example, I've
Okay.
developed my system, for example,
Okay.
marking
Okay,
system.
when, like you are saying, you have developed a system, not so? So, and maybe this system, you want to host it on, I think, is it that you have developed a system and you want to host it on Windows server?
I think that's what he's meaning.
Yes, exactly that.
You're meaning that you have developed your own system. So after developing your own, you want to host it on Windows server.
Yeah, exactly. How do I go about it?
Okay. When you develop a system and you want to host it on Windows server, it is called a web application, maybe depends on what you're using. But earlier we talked about the use of IIS. This IIS is an internet information service, and it is a built-in web server on Windows, and it is used for hosting the web applications. And in this web application, what you do, you enable the IIS because it is within the control panel. When you turn the Windows features, it will be on or off. When you turn them on or off, what happens? It checks the internet information services and the web management tool, because it is called a web management tool. In this web management tool is when you first allow the installation of that IIS. When you configure this IIS manager, it is called IIS manager. When you configure it, it's when you get on the site that you're going to host on that same server. You'll be having a link. Yes, you'll be having we create a link, and this link we give it a site name and a physical path on that same file of the application, and we give it a port. Usually you find when you're just going to use port 80. This port 80 will work as it is called a private port. Now this private port, remember now you're just hosting it. When you're using this private port, the port 80, you're just putting it just within the what we call private network, internal network. The internal network, that means what you have just done now, you are going to only access it alone on the internal network. And remember, this one maybe you have built it using maybe you are using any language, and in this language, you just configure it, then you raise with a person who can. When you browse this one, we have put on you have given a path of port 80, be just within the browser with that private IP, with that default, actually it is a default port. Then we server map it. We server map it. And this server mapping, it will tell it that whenever you're reading this, whenever you're reading, when you come and you're reading this private, just translate it to the other public. Maybe if it is HTTP/ maybe a localhost with that IP, maybe, and you just give it, if it was 80, give it maybe 80. And that one, if you don't have a domain, I mean a subdomain, it will just be seen specifically. And whenever you see, when you just go on sites and you ping, maybe if I have an application and I ping it, it will just show an embedded application within it. But what is just hosted, remember it is just there locally. Maybe you have been using XAMPP and other things within those folders, and which is pulled via the other IIS. You just map it and it will be seen on what they call a hosting. It is called something like a hosting game server around. The example of it is Steam. I think Fatoru had a lot of, I think, some time, and we have a bit of time of going through about it. I will just take you about we see where we get the server.properties file. Then we see how it is configured. Because at this time, I don't think that you're going to get it how it is done in IIS, but the literal definition, maybe I have elaborated to you. You can at least understand that as how it is pulled and where it goes and what happens with IIS. Actually, you have given us a hint of more knowing about the how IIS is working. Thank you.
Thank you, Beda. I think to add on that, Mr. Nicodemus, you run, like the way I said, you install VirtualBox and install like any Windows server. These things to when you are trying them out. When you talk them out, and you also go and research and practice them. We had a colleague of Linux server in the morning also, but we have different types of servers. We have web server, DNS server, file server, database server. All of them, they have different functions. And under the web server, in Windows Server, we have that Microsoft IIS. So you go and install and try it out. We can get numbers from these colleagues. In case you have an issue, you can inbox them personally and they guide you. These things are big. We can start them even for like a week and we don't finish them. But today, basically, you are to give us a hint and open our eyes on what is next. What do we need to research about? What do we need now to run? The next thing to run, to give you a pathway on what is exactly taking place in the work environment, which is different from what we study. First, we study theory, more of theory. But today I wanted to show you what is exactly taking place in the work environment. I think we can have other questions. Colleagues, are you hungry?
We are around. We are still around.
So
just we are going for Juma.
Okay. So if there is no question,
maybe last time we request Mr. Veda also to share his contact with us, and also he can hint us. We always hear that also internship opportunities. Is that true? And how can we access the opportunities so that we can live when we are doing
Okay. He's here to answer. Mr. Beda, that you share your number, and again, if there are internship opportunities at Uganda Police.
My number I shared earlier on. I think I shared my number. My number is here. Yes, the internship are there. You write to IGP and you drop your letter to HRM. They will consider you. This is a free service, no payment. You just try your luck, and when they give you, you don't pay money. You come and done.
Okay, thank you so much. I think this one has brought us to the closure. Those ones who want certificates, you can approach Timothy, and I want the list by the end of today. Mr. Beda, thank you so much. And colleagues also, thank you so much for attending. Our session is accordingly adjourned. Thank you.
You're welcome, Mr. Wilbrod, for bringing us new people on board. We have also learned and we are now continuing to wish we could have more on board. They will help us. Thank you so much. And thank you so much.
Welcome, and have a good day.
Thank you.